Today is a very good day, my fellow ice cubes, because we're going to start a new challenge in Plants vs Zombies 2. This time it's gonna be very hot, because we're picking the fairy plants. For many years, this plant group was represented by some classical examples, such as jalapeno or lava guava. However, it's not the case in 2025, as plants like Inferno and Pure Wine have changed everything. Now the game has 15 different types of fairy plants, and I think it's a great idea to beat Plants vs Zombies 2 by frying stinky zombies like a raw bacon on a pan. But before we start, let's begin with the rules of this challenge. First, I can only use fire plants and only them. Second, no leveling up, and third, no power-ups. My rules aren't so strict, but I did my best to stick to them. Without further ado, let's begin our fiery challenge. Our journey began with a few tutorial levels that didn't contain any fire plants, but it was a great start, because we received a hot sauce. Hey neighbor, can I borrow that hot sauce? I've been holding on to this taco for forever. No, Chris Div, don't. Oh, I didn't stop him once again. So it was the last time we tried such a delicious taco, and now we have to go back in time to try it again. And that's how we appeared in ancient Egypt. Please wait 4,500 years for your taco to be ready. More or less. And that doesn't smell right. I'm sure my taco is around here somewhere. But in the meantime, I'm sure we will find it, Crazy Dave. We didn't come here to have fun. We came only to get our taco back. Until day 5, we continued to learn about this game and its features, but after beating day 6, we had finally began our challenge, as now we were finally able to choose any plants we wanted to. It's tough to describe how enjoyable it was to start a new time adventure with some new plants. I never tried playing with a major part of the fairy dudes, so don't be surprised about their placement. Day 7 also introduced some camel zombies, making it exciting to try them all on such a specific zombie, as it is a good way to gather some information about the plant's efficiency. The plant that surprised me the most was, of course, the meteor flower, which is the most dangerous weapon against the weak zombies, as it can shoot the meteors at any place on the lawn. 11 flopas out of 10. On day 8, I decided to plant a full column of fire pea shooters to test their efficiency against the explorer zombie and delicious cobblestones. To my surprise, the fire dude turned out to be much better than I expected, making him a good choice for beating ancient Egypt. Oh, and I really enjoy looking at fairy peas. Unfortunately, there is no other way for me to get them today. On day 9, I made another big discovery. Wasabi Whip has easily defeated some zombies that are carrying torches, meaning that I flamed some enemies that are designed to burn me. Life never prepared them for such an outcome. I have just played 3 levels with only fire plants, but this plant is by far one of my favorites. It has the same price as Bok Choy or Snapdragon, but deals better than both combined. Okay, I get it. Peppermint is insanely cool. Day 10 began with frying the entire lawn using such a specific tool. It is simply too powerful to be used oftenly, so I won't do that without a reason. The rest of the day was spent placing torchwoods at the back of the lawn. I don't really know why I decided to use it. Maybe because the idea of beating the entire level with only torchwood sounded hilarious in my head. Can you imagine zombies biting fire stumps? Now I can. So day 11 was a level with some pre-picked plans for me, so there's a good chance to tell you something interesting. Did you know that some fire varieties can heat up to 5000 degrees Celsius or 9000 degrees Fahrenheit? While a simple wood fire might reach around 1100 degrees Celsius or 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, certain fuel oxygen mixtures can reach the previously mentioned records. Of course, you won't reach these numbers without specific equipment, but it's really insane what temperatures the fire can reach. On day 12, we tested pepper plants in the realities of ancient Egypt. The results were shocking. They are insanely good. Most players hate this plant because of its long recharge rate, but in my case, it's a good lobber that deals splash damage, and its price is high enough to simply abandon the equation of time, as I have no options to get suns quickly enough to spam them. Day 13 showed me the real problem with Snapdragon. He is too weak to be used in our challenge. In the main game, it's a solid option for beating pirates and the Wild West. However, in my situation, the usage of this plant is extremely limited, mainly due to the high sun cost and low damage output compared to some other fire plants. Yet, together with the pure wine, it's a solid combo for defeating enemies like coneheads and camels. Would you like to taste a barbecue made out of zombies? Additionally, we can provide you with some good cobblestones fried on an open flame. Yes, it's not a cooking show. We're still playing Plants vs Zombies 2, and it's day 14 of ancient Egypt. Picking the fire pea shooter was the right option for beating it. There is a plant call on the banana phone. It's an SOS. They will be sitting plants if we don't help. Let's take the route and save them. So they want me to save some plants placed on the banana cells. Of course I have to help them. Day 15 was dedicated to my lovely sunflowers, which means that I have a unique chance to place even more fire plants. I found nothing better than attracting zombies by placing hot date and then burning them with the help of the jack-o'-lantern. He is capable of burning the pharaoh zombie, so I've got no questions about his color of fire. You know, it's just weird to see a colorful fire. You won't believe me, but day 16 was just an average level of ancient Egypt. Nothing special happened while beating it, except for some cool pepper shots that stopped a massive zombie attack and broke a camel camouflage. I miss my lovely camels. On day 17, I almost broke my ears because of the unbalanced sound of Inferno's flame shots. You should always check the game sound before playing with recently introduced plants in PVZ2, as the sound designer had never used headphones while creating the effects. Yet it's an insanely powerful plant that will be used throughout the journey, so we should better get used to it. Day 18 was finally a last stand level for which I prepared and used strategy. This time I decided to combine some classical fire plants, as both of them are great at defeating the zombies. I don't know why, but it was so enjoyable to watch this zombie battle. Everything just feels so perfectly satisfying to look at. If you have that feeling as well, please let me know in the comments below. Day 19 is a good day to play with a wasabi whip, especially since Crazy Dave planted an annoying slimes at the back of the lawn. Previously I told you about my love for this plant, but I didn't mention one insanely cool fact about it. Wasabi whip can slash zombies from behind. Of course, this feature isn't so helpful right now, but we will use it a lot in some of the next time adventures. Day 20 was yet another good day because protecting sunflowers placed on the banana cells feels more like a gift of fate rather than a serious challenge. It allowed us not only to plant a lot of fire pea shooters, but also to try out the ugliest fire plant you have ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the blaze leaf. I still can't believe that someone accepted adding it into the game. It feels like they hired Patrick as a new art director. On day 21, I developed an effective strategy for dealing with all kinds of local zombies. All you need is a pumpkin and a hot date. This combo costs only 400 suns and attracts all the zombies from the nearby lanes. For 800 suns, you can easily protect the entire lawn and make sure that none of the zombies can get to your lawnmowers. But sometimes the hot date can be eaten, so make sure to save enough suns to place another one. Day 22 was sponsored by the meteor flower, which turned an average level into an interesting one. The meteor shot reminded me of 1918 and the Western Front, where artillery shells played a crucial role in breaking the German front line and successfully ending the Great War. The same can be said about Plants vs Zombies 2. Meteor shards leave no chance for any kind of zombie to survive until the end, no matter how strong or secretive you are. Okay, I agree with you that the Inferno is overpowered, as a single plant can stop a giant gargantuar from entering the lawn. I understand that some plants in this game are super powerful, but stopping the gargantuar with a single plant is way too powerful. Day 23 felt like nothing because of it. We should save it for another day, when such strong plants are needed to complete the level. Day 24 was yet another less stand level for which I developed a new strategy. This time we combined the fire pea shooter with the good old frost bonnet. You can argue and say that it's not a fire plant. However, don't forget about its superposition. It can be both fire and ice plant, which depends on your decision, making it fair enough to use in our challenge. Thanks to such a great plant combination, we had no problems in dealing with the feral zombies and my lovely bucketheads. What a great battle to look at! Don't miss your chance to play with the fire plants in ancient Egypt. My taco tastes so close I can smell it. Beware, user Dave, Dr. Zombas still stands in your way. What does that guy have against tacos and me eating them? I don't know, user Dave. Dr. Zombas is a really strange guy. Bah, my reasoning is simple yet beyond your comprehension. Now face my Zombo, Sphinx and Nether in a battle. Unfortunately, day 25 didn't contain any fire plants, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombas that lasted only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Look, Penny, a pirate key! It's parity! This will enable us to travel to another time. Sounds salty! Taco, ahoy! This is no pleasure trip, your excursion will be watery and grave. Anyways, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Pirate Seas. Another 25 levels are waiting for us, but this time with lots of cannons and birds. It's time to search for the dead man's booty, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Pirate Seas. A world of giant cannons and angry parrots is waiting for us. It is the second world of our time adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's taco. Today we will have a zombie barbecue right on the pirate ship, so stay with us to fry some annoying parrots and delicious seagulls. Without further ado, let's jump into the golden age of zombie piracy. I thought we were trying to get back home and get your taco. But pirates, hang on to your parrots and peg legs. You know, Crazy Dave has a point in this question, as now we're a few steps closer to reaching it once again. All we need to do is to wait for another 300 years or beat those damn pirates to get another key to the next world. I think that beating 25 levels of the Pirate Seas is much easier than living together with Crazy Dave for 300 years. So we're officially starting our challenge. I found nothing better than beating day 1 of the piracies by using only torchwoods. The only thing I have to complain about is the amount of time I spent waiting for zombies to consume a burning tree stump. After spending 5 minutes of my life on that scene, the idea of planting torchwoods is now abandoned by me. However, the jalapeno effect is a major reason to remember it as a good level. Day 2 was the perfect time to fry some seagulls coming from the water lane, especially since we aimed to plant a whole column of pepper plants. You know, I like grilled peppers. They taste exceptionally good if you mix them with some other vegetables and then consume them together with fried potatoes or meat. It's really hard not to speak about food while playing with such a delicious plants. Day 3 was a full copy of the first one, so let me tell you something interesting. Did you know that the matchsticks were invented later than the lighters? The first one was designed in 1826, while the second one was invented in 1923. For many years, lighters have dominated the market since the early matchsticks weren't so good. Put a like on this video if you enjoyed such an interesting fact. On day 4, some of the buckethead zombies aimed to break our defense, but the brave spirit of the fire pea shooter didn't leave them a single chance to get closer to my brains. They were able to break those buckets without the help of any other plant, which means that the fire guy is really tough and cool. Oh, and it looks like we received a chest with a treasure inside of it. Let's open it. Finally, one of those pirates dropped some booty. I'm detecting something more challenging than treasure inside. Just don't tell me that they are hiding a Wamparchini inside of it. Well, an endless mode is still better than a stinky mushroom. Day 5 was a tough one, especially when you compare it to some other previous levels. There were so many different zombies in huge numbers that I almost lost it because of the annoying pelicans. Oh wait, they are not pelicans, it's seagulls. I have been lied for many years, as I thought that we were fighting against pelicans, but then in 2017 a pelican zombie came in and broke my memories. Of course, not without the losses, but I managed to hold off the zombie attack and successfully finish the level. Don't take the pepper pult on the 5th day of the piracies, it's not the best choice. Day 6 was finally a good one, mainly because we fried zombies in just a few cells out of the giant lawn. You don't need to place fire plants on every lane, which means that you can save some more suns for preparing a better defense in a restricted area. That's why I really enjoyed playing with a hot date, as it allows me to gather lots of bucketheads on a single tile and then fry them like a KFC chicken. Mr. Floppa would enjoy it. Oh, did I tell you that Inferno is an insanely cool plant? This fiery dude can stop the barrel zombie with a single flame shot. It's only day 7 of the piracies, but such a plant is already needed to deal with the local zombies. I could probably beat it using a pepper pult, but it wouldn't be such a cool level without a fire tornadoes. Oh, and it looks like we received a map. Let's look at it. Look out, it's a map. To treasure, it says no zombies. Maps don't lie. Well, we do have a shovel. Let's go, no time for precautions. We can't trust those guys because they don't even mention what type of prize is hiding here. Maybe I want to get a plush elephant or just a bottle of cold tea. They can't be sure about my dreams. Hail, fellow captain. Be advised that your sailing vessel is of insufficient size. Sincerely, Dr. Edgar Zombus. Huh? What's that now? We are gonna need a bigger boat. Day 8 was one of the classical conveyor belt levels, so that's a great chance for a bit of PVZ2 nostalgia. For the first time I beat the Pirate Seas almost 12 years ago, when the game was simple and there were not so many plants to play with. However, similar to Minecraft, happiness is about the quality instead of quantity. You don't need to have a lot of plans to enjoy the game, simply because the key to happiness lies in different scenes. I guess I need to make a separate video to explain everything I feel about this game. I really enjoyed playing Day 9 of the Pirate Seas, because I didn't have to spend a lot of suns to build a proper defense. The entire level was beaten with the help of the few pepper pools and fire pea shooters, along with an ugly blaze leaf, which played a major part in defeating swashbucklers and bucketheads. Don't miss your chance to get an ugly friend and fry zombies with a fire animated by Patrick. On Day 10, my choice fell upon the Snapdragon, one of the oldest fire plants in PVZ2. Back in 2013, he was one of the only fire plants that you could get while beating the adventure mode. We all understand that he isn't so good today, especially since Snapdragon has to compare with some tough plants like Wasabi Whip or Inferno. Even this level wouldn't be possible to beat without the Peppermint, meaning that Snapdragon is mostly an outdated plant. Press F to pay respect to an old guy. Day 11 isn't so hard, since we planted a whole column of Wasabi Whip. Unfortunately, none of the zombies could evaluate its spicy taste, so they preferred to bypass such a dangerous guy. It was the right choice, because the Wasabi Whip doesn't like them either. Well, at least we fried some delicious birds on the water lanes. Does it taste like KFC? I don't know. It looks like we unlocked a coconut cannon. It's time to smell some ripe coconuts. I love the smell of the coconut cannons in the morning. Smells like, well, coconuts. I've got a special feeling about Day 12 since it was one of my least favorite levels in PVZ2. When I was a kid, I couldn't appreciate playing such a cool minigame. Almost 12 years ago, shooting coconuts was way tougher as the seagulls were moving much faster and the needed score was way higher than it is today. I know that this level has no connection to our challenge, but who cares about it? Let's simply enjoy the game and the levels it offers to us. On Day 13, we had to gather 2000 suns, which allowed me to get anything I wanted to. However, the only thing I cared about was planting a full column of peppers and fire peas. Oh, and of course, frying Popka the parrot. I didn't allow you to steal my sunflowers. That was a good lesson for a little stealer and his fellow captain. It's low tide and the waves are coming in. Grab your water wings, we are going to get wet. Day 14 was finally the first last stand level of the Pirate Seas, which allowed me to prepare a great defense line. This time I decided to rely on my favorite pumpkin with the green fire and the sticky hot date that attracted all the pirates to its sweet taste. However, I forgot about the barrel zombie, which broke the first defense line but didn't get to the second and third ones. Thanks to the plant food ability of my lovely pumpkin, we managed to beat the level without losing any lone movers and at the same time with lots of fried birds. Now we have finally enough food for the rest of the levels. On Day 15, I received a free 3-peater, which means that the time has finally come to plant a lot of torchwoods. Of course, this wasn't the only way to defeat the zombies, but the level itself was pretty hard, so I put a lot of my efforts into beating it, especially since I had no ability to destroy the imp cannons. Sometimes the way I beat the levels isn't the most efficient, but surely the most hilarious one. Who except me would decide to bring Torchwood to that level? I have started becoming crazier than the Crazy Dave. Remember, protect those plants. And don't let those beans walk the plank. I get the point, Crazy Dave. I won't take any serious fire plans to beat it. No, seriously, you can beat day 16 of the Pirate Seas without taking any plans, because the Sprint Bean can do everything on its own. You just need to save enough plant foods to get rid of swashbucklers and zombie hordes. What about Snapdragons? They were just having a good time, feeling like they were the main characters of this level. It's really strange to look at how the meteor flower attacks the imp cannon. That's all you need to know about the modern PVZ2. On day 17, we faced a ton of weary zombies that tried to reach my brain. However, even Popka the parrot wasn't able to steal my pepper pult, so don't mess around with such an efficient fire machine. On day 18, we had to play with some pre-picked plans, so let me tell you something interesting about myself. Did you know that the Pirate Seas used to be my favorite world in PVZ2? When I started playing this game, it had only 3 worlds, and the map was very different from what we see in 2025. It has been a long time since I first beat the Pirate Seas, but it still feels like a place you always want to enter. Just like playing Minecraft beta after 14 years since its release. I can't say much about Day 19 because it was a full copy of Day 1 with only some additional goals like gathering suns and saving weird flowers from zombie trampolines. Well, at least I had some fun while burning them with my lovely fire pea shooter. You won't believe me, but Day 20 was pretty much the same as Day 19. Yeah, that's not a joke. Well, in such a case, I'll tell you something about the Pirate Seas. Did you know that the Pirate Captain Zombie and Popka the Parrot used to have their own voice lines? The reason why they were deleted is still unknown, but I wish the PopCap developers would add them back into the game, as it gives a special vibe to everything that is happening on the lone. On day 21, we once again had to gather some suns, so that's why I planted so many fire pea shooters. Now, not even the imp cannons could think about reaching my brain, as the fire peas are the best argument in the case of a heavy zombie spam. Also, the buckethead zombie can't forget about saving its bucket. Oh, and it looks like we unlocked an additional seed slot. It will allow us to take on more fire plants. That's really nice. Day 22 was one of my favorite last stand levels in the entire game, so let me tell you what I prepared for it. This time we were defending the lone using 1 column of fire pea shooters combined with 2 columns of pepper pults. This is an insanely effective combination, as it allowed me to beat that level in just 2 minutes. What a great combo for such a good level. Day 23 is probably a full copy of Day 2, with the only difference being the level goals. This time I decided to fry my lovely seagulls with the help of the pyre wine combined with a hot hit of wasabi whip. It was so enjoyable to look at. Floppa with an AK-47 would approve it. On day 24, I had to protect a few sprint beans from being eaten by seagulls or stolen by Popka, so I found nothing better than planting a lot of fiery wasabis, only to make sure that each zombie could be defeated. The level was successfully beaten from the very first attempt, and none of the zombies could pose a major threat to my beans. Stay away from my dancing friends. I have discovered a mysterious trait in your rattletrap machine. Its temporal signature is nearly identical to my own reactions. Explain to me, how was this penny created in the first place? Could I really be some form of zombot? User Dave, am I the daughter of the Dr. Zombas? There was one fine sandwich, so what did I miss? Nothing, Crazy Dave, just nothing. Unfortunately, day 25 didn't contain any fire plants except for Snapdragon, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted only 3 minutes. Please tell me about your creation process. It was pretty easy. I found some tiny webby wobby stuff. Then I put it between 2 slices of bread. Boom! Awesome sandwich. Such a proliferous bunk. I should have expected as much. I'll have the answer someday when these brains are on my plate. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Wild West. Another 25 levels are waiting for us, but this time with lots of dynamite and delicious fried chicken. Forget about parrots, because now it's time to put on some dusty boots, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Wild West. A world filled with fried chicken buckets is waiting for us. It is the third world of our time adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will burn a lot of wild zombies only to save some sugary hot dates from being eaten. Without further ado, let's find out who is the real sheriff of this town. 6 shooters locked and loaded. Old-timey piano music downloaded. Chains of taco a bit less than 0%. Margin of error a bit more than 0%. Well, our chances are really high. Day 1 of the Wild West is an absolute banger, as it includes an extra pea shooter which is pre-planted on the minecart. Sounds reasonable. It was also a good reason to take torchwood on such a level, as it allowed me to combine my favorite plants on a single level. That is one of the few times when you are really happy to have a classical pea shooter in your team. Day 2, I choose you, Pikachu. That was a huge surprise to me to be stuck with a dynamite man on a second level of the Wild West. I actually thought he appeared on the 4th or 5th level, so his emergence was, to say the least, a massive surprise to me. However, the sweet taste of the hot date attracted all of them, so none of my plans were eaten while beating this level. Day 3 contained a lot of minecarts and dancing zombies. The second one is my favorite. Where else would you find so many flexing dudes wearing funny costumes with cones on their heads? The pepper pult was the right choice for such a level, as it allowed me to deal with the massive zombie hordes by simply feeding the pepper with a plant food. Enjoy the taste of flame. As a result of burning all the zombies, we received a creeper box. We should stay away from such a scene. My uncle Milo used to have one of these. He called it a boombox. Actually, that's close enough. I'll allow it. I wouldn't trust a so-called boombox to Crazy Dave. It is similar to giving $1 million to Patrick. He would spend them all on a Wamperchini. Bruh. Another day means another chance to play with a pea shooter. Day 4 was an okay corral minigame, so while beating this level, I suggest you to listen to my speech about the Wild West. I've got a really warm feeling about this place, maybe because I spent a lot of time playing Big Bad Bot or simply watching Zack Scott's series where he played PVZ 2 before its global release, so I could only dream about frying chickens with the help of the Latin read. The things I'm talking about were happening over 12 years ago, and it's so cool to remember them. It's so nice to have PVZ2 as a great connection with me today, and me as a 10-year-old boy who simply enjoyed doing some basic stuff in Plants vs Zombies 2. That's who I am. It's time to burn the entire lawn with some lava shots. On day 5, a major zombie spam occurred in our backyard, so we have to do something about it. especially since Toaster Man wants to make a yummy sandwich out of my flowers. I didn't grow them for you, cowboy, so stay away from my fiery artillery. This level reminds me of videos where the floor is lava. It's high noon and waves of zombies are about. Time to show them who's got the fastest plants in time. Day 6 was finally the first last stand level of the Wild West, so let me tell you what I prepared for it. This time I combined some of my favorite fire plants to make sure that none of the piano zombies can reach my minecarts. The level was pretty simple and I managed to beat it in less than 2 minutes. Like cow tipping, zombie tipping is best done from the side. Trust me, do not try to tip a cow from behind. Usually I don't trust Crazy Dave, but now I'm fully on his side. Do not try to eat a cow in the same way as zombies eat a hot date. It will burn your stomach and turn you into a bucket of KFC chicken. Oh wait, it was a huge spoiler. Forget about everything I told you before. Let's just say that Jack-o'-lantern creates an amazing combo together with Pyrewine. They are made for each other. Excuse me, is that a paper with my debt? A bill collector is still searching for me. It appears brains are outlawed around here. Quick neighbor, play dump. We will follow your lead, user Dave. Now let's smash some juicy brains to show them who is the real sheriff of this town. Day 8 was an epic zombie battle, which included lots of plants from the Wild West. Usually I planted all the pea pods on the minecarts, but this time I wanted to change something, so I put them all at the back of the lawn, and each lane had the same amount of juicy peas. You can also see how I accidentally clicked on the power-up, making me lose over 1000 coins without a reason. Mr. Floppa is sad because of it. Day 9 contained lots of juicy winter melons and no fiery plants. I guess that's because the level was too hot for our fiery dudes to be planted, so we had to cool it down with the help of our snowy plants. Let's consider it as a bit of rest for the fiery plants, as everyone needs to chill. Always remember to get at least 8 hours of sleep to feel like a champ during the day. Day 10 was an absolute mess because of the little chickens, which are a dangerous weapon against the Inferno. Now we know your weak sides, flamey dude. However, that doesn't mean that some other fiery plants are unable to deal with them. The wasabi whip is not only a great plant to stop the annoying bucketheads, but also a cheap way to fry a delicious chicken. KFC should think about purchasing such an efficient frying machine. It is way cheaper than frying wings in oil. On day 11, I had to spend no more than 500 cents, so I decided to divide that number between 2 meteor flowers, which are able to shoot zombies anywhere on the lawn. It was a full copy of the first level, so nothing else can be said about it, except the fact that I picked a great strategy. Day 12 was yet another not okay corral level, so I suggest skipping it, as it was entirely dedicated to bloomerangs and lightning reeds. Don't get me wrong, but I've got nothing to deal with the latter one. He didn't fry a single chicken while beating it, so now I want to sell him to zombies. What a fantasy I've got today. Do you like playing with ugly plants? Because I do. If you find that interesting as well, then you will really enjoy beating Day 13 of the Wild West. Here I combined a blaze leaf animated by Patrick together with Frostbite, which isn't so bad compared to some of the recently introduced plants. Yeah, both of them can handle a major zombie attack, but at what cost? Day 14 was decided to be beaten using my lovely Snapdragon. Actually, he isn't so bad when you have to deal with hundreds of chickens, as its fire wave can hit up any kind of zombie bird. And if it's necessary, burn the entire piano with a single flame shot. The final wave was an absolute banger. considering how many chickens were fried in a few seconds. Colonel Sanders would be proud of us. On day 15, we couldn't lose more than 2 plants, so I found nothing better than planting wasabi whip, as it's capable of dealing with any kind of zombie, and it's hard enough to eat a spicy dude. Not too many zombies are brave enough to bite at least a single piece of it, making the wasabi whip an ultimate weapon for the Wild West. These levels can be tough nuts to crack, and I want to see the delicious creamy center. The point is not to crack them. Alright, so day 16 wasn't one of the easiest, maybe because I decided to pick a pepper pult for beating it, or perhaps it's because I was paying too much attention to poor Johnny. I just wanted to save a delicious creamy center for myself, so none of the zombies could attack my delicacy. Sorry Walnut, we're having a barbecue, and you're the main character of it. Even though I lost some lawnmowers, I really enjoyed frying the zombie horde using the pepper pult's plant food ability. 11 flopas out of 10. Day 17 was one of the most challenging levels of the Wild West, and all because of these weird flowers. The main problem for me was not even the sun deficit, but rather the level's pace. The first bull enters the lawn before the first wave, and at that point I have only planted a few plants, making it really hard to stop such a zombie. However, that's not all. After the first wave, you will be stuck with a ton of zombies on every lane, making things even worse for you. It isn't so hard to beat this level when it's played normally, but in the case of a severe sun deficit and a limited plant usage, it becomes way tougher to deal with all the zombies. Another day, another less than level. On day 18, I had to deal with lots of prospector zombies, combined with hundreds of chickens. Well, such a combination means that most of the fiery plants, like pepper pult or fire pea shooter, are useless in these circumstances. But on the other hand, it's a great opportunity for plants like wasabi whip and hot date. While some of the zombies were attracted to the hot date just as usual, the prospectors joined the party from behind. It was undoubtedly the most unusual level of the Wild West. Day 19 consisted of an enormous number of tornadoes, which left no chance for zombies to get closer to my brain. It was so enjoyable to sit and look at how tornadoes pushed all the zombies away from my lawn, especially if it was a toaster zombie. They've got no chance to make a tornado toast. Day 20 was a not okay corral level, so I suggest you to listen to an interesting fact about coconuts. Did you know that despite its name, coconut is not a nut? It's officially classified as a drupe, a plant group that consists of various fruits with a single seed surrounded by flesh. The other members of this plant group are cherries, apricots, dates, plums, and many others. Thank you so much for your attention. Day 21 was yet another level where I had to protect some scary looking flowers from zombie trampling. Sounds not so good for me. Anyway, to reach that goal, I picked one of the most reliable plants that can hit zombies on both sides. Not even the buckethead friend could deal with the spicy flame of a wasabi whip. Day 22 didn't contain any fairy plants, but instead contained a lot of icy ones. Of course, they had some trouble dealing with the chicken horde, but that's not a problem for an iceberg lettuce that can freeze the entire lawn with a single plant food. Sometimes, so we should better regulate the temperature to make the gameplay even more enjoyable for us. Oh, and the iceberg lettuce is an awesome plant. I spent over 15 minutes trying to beat day 23, as the chicken horde was a huge obstacle for beating it. Not even a single lane of wasabi whip could handle such a pressure, so that's why I planted a pure wine on top of it. Additionally, I couldn't lose more than 2 plants, making everything even worse. Yet, after a few unsuccessful attempts, the level was successfully completed and none of the chickens broke my defense. Day 24 was an easy one, but I had to pay a lot of attention to Johnnies, as they were pre-planted in front of the battlefield. This time we had to deal with all kinds of local zombies, so we had to pick someone who could deal with them all. To my surprise, that was a pepper pool combined with a pure wine. They managed to stop not only the zombie horde, but also the aggressive bulls. Just don't tell anyone that it wouldn't be possible without the peppermint. No one will understand this. Have you considered that you are sharing Crazy Dave's madness? There is no zombie outbreak threatening you. You are not using plants to defend your home. The zombies and I are normal people, simply trying to help you. I bet you'll tell us there are no spoons too. It's one of the few times when I can tell you that Crazy Dave isn't crazy at all. He's just plain dumb, like Patrick. Alright, so day 25 didn't contain any fire plants, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted only 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's right, these plants versus you and your zombies. And we didn't even need to use any spoons, even though those scenes totally exist. I admit you are correct in this regard. We have no existential conflict over the nature of spoons. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Frostbite Caves. Another 30 levels are waiting for us, but this time the fire plants are going to be necessary for defeating the icy bodies. Get ready for the hottest time adventure you could ever think of, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Frostbite Caves. A world of delicious hot peppers and icy stones is waiting for us. It is the first world of our time adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we'll melt a lot of ice cubes while simply defending the lawn from annoying snowballs. Without further ado, let's dive deep into the battle of fire and ice. Brrr, it's colder than a polar bear eating an ice pop. Indeed, it appears we have arrived in the Frostbite Caves. We have traveled so far back in history, so we have arrived in prehistory. Fair enough, I guess. So, welcome to the first day of the Frostbite Caves. Here you can actually see our new fabulous lone and frozen Johnny. We need to save you, brother. Who else except the walnut can easily stop this zombie horde, especially since I've got a limited amount of sun? The level wasn't so hard, but the difference between it and the previous 3 worlds was noticeable. It had already introduced a buckethead zombie on the first level. Am I cooked because of it? Well, I don't think so. They too introduced even more frozen wedges. Wait, did they take it from my freezer? Well, that explains everything. Anyway, I really enjoyed beating that day, as I had a unique ability to plant torchwoods for every single pea shooter. It not only allowed me to burn some regular peas, but also to compete with the fire pea shooter for being the best barbecue chef. All the 3 stumps were fitting with a delicious plant food, leaving no chance for zombies to bite at least a single piece of Johnny. Day 3 was a conveyor belt level, which included only some regular pea shooters, so I've got nothing to say about it. Yet, the same can be said about the glacial periods. Did you know that the last glacial maximum took place 27,000 years ago? It occurred for almost 16,000 years, creating a serious ice shields in both northern and southern hemispheres. Technically, we're still living in the Ice Age, but in its warm phase. Thank you so much for your attention. Day 4. Let's run a marathon. It was a highly enjoyable level, as the hot flame of the wasabi whip left no chance for zombies to get closer to my brain. Also, its plant food ability is an absolute banger, dealing serious damage to all the zombies in a 3x3 area. Well, this is the first time I really enjoyed beating the Frostbite Caves, and I'm not even joking. I'm starting to get cold feet about this place. Also, my feet are getting really cold. Time to turn up the heat. I recommend Pepper Pult for the job. He loves hot pepper at zombies and also keep nearby plants warm. Let's pick a pack of the Pepper Pults. It's the perfect plant for our predicament. Pepper Pult was a fantastic choice, Penny. Yeah, it wasn't the only plant I used to beat day 5 of the Frostbite Caves, but using this fire dude was really enjoyable. I love everything about the Pepper Pult, except its awful recharge rate. In case when the cabbage pult is too weak and the melon pult is too expensive, the pepper pult goes as the ultimate choice of a middle lover plant, but the 20-second recharge rate kills everything. I wish the PopCap developers had fixed it. Another day, another hot flame. On day 6, most of the plants were pre-picked for me, so I had to choose only the best one to take with me. I have obviously taken the Pepper Pult as I needed a long-range attacker to deal with tough zombies, and I also took the Jack-o'-lantern to unfreeze the sunflowers to produce even more suns. Sometimes only the pepper rain can teach the zombies not to get close to my lawn mowers. On day 7, the meteor flowers stopped the global cooling and even saved me from an enormous zombie attack. Its plant ability is useful against the large zombie hordes, so you will always find the proper way to use it. Also, the split pea played a key role in defeating the zombies from behind, which is useful considering the realities of this world. 11 Minecraft cats out of 10. Nothing special occurred on day 8 except for a massive zombie attack. I'm not a big fan of that level, primarily because of the plant's repetitiveness. I think we should better skip it. The main reason I love playing with a fire pea shooter is its plant food ability. You just feed this guy with a single plant food and he turns all the zombies on his row into a tasty barbecue. No one except for a chili pepper could repeat such a scene. That is what made day 9 special for me, as not so often do you get a chance to fire everything up. It's not a joke. Day 10 was yet another conveyor belt level. I'm wondering what PopCap developers were thinking about while adding so many conveyor belt levels for a single world. However, this is a cool one. Combining my lovely pea shooter with a chart guard was a great idea. Day 11 is an iconic level of the Frostbite Caves, and I've got a few major reasons to say that. First of all, it's really hard, and it's impossible to beat it by using only classical fire plants, so I had to find another way to deal with it. Of course, my choice fell on the Inferno, as this guy is capable of bringing the zombies back to the place where they came from. Maybe if I used the peppermint in my previous attempt, I would be able to beat it with only fire pea and wasabi whip, but I'm not sure about it. Anyway, let's just say that Inferno is an amazing tool for beating this level. Day 12 was the first listed level, and of course, I wanted to beat it with only local plants to prove that they are better than most people consider them. They made their job so well that I didn't even have to use the peppermint, so the level was beaten in less than 2 minutes. Don't you still believe that they are a great team? Okay, so on day 13, I had to defend some weird flowers from zombie trampolines. Sounds like a big joke. Anyway, in order to do that, we have to prepare a serious defense line, as numerous zombies will attempt to break it. Not without the excesses, but everything was going fine until the final wave, when I had to use all of my 200 IQ to beat such a hard level. Honestly, I didn't believe that I would make it on this attempt, but I did it. Everything told me that I would fail it, but I didn't. Mr. Floppy is truly proud of me. Day 14 is unbeatable with only Pepper Pult. Don't even try to do that. So the level was completed with the help of the Bloomerang, which is a great weapon against the dodos. So next time you play it, place as many Bloomerangs as possible. Day 15 was one of the few levels where peppermint is essential for clearing the lawn and saving the endangered pepper pools. I guess it was one of the hardest levels we faced in the Frostbite Caves, as the number of zombies and their defense was high enough to get to my tasty peppers. Not even the wasabi whip alone was capable of defending the hot pepper, so I don't really recommend you to take the same plans as I did. Of course, the ultimate choice for beating it is Inferno, but playing every single level with only such a plant would be too boring for all of you. Oh, and it looks like a painted stone. Let's take a look at it. Oh, what a cute zombie. They want to warm my brain. What a shame that we destroyed all of them. However, the same can't be said about you. Well, I knew it was a trap. Day 16 was an epic zombie battle, which included lots of gargantuars. Sometimes I couldn't even understand what was happening on the lawn, but it didn't stop me from placing plants all over the lawn and simply enjoying everything that was happening here. There are a few things I can always look at, and Pepperpool's plant food ability is one of them. No one will stop me from frying a delicious zombie. On day 17, I decided to use an ugly frost bonnet to melt the ice around the fume shroom and chart guard. I can't say that I love this plant, but it's kinda reliable in many cases, so getting it is an optional thing. Yet, it is still better than Wamperchini or Blaze Leaf, so I'll give it another chance in the future. Day 18 was a sweet one, as the citron's juicy pulp attracted all the zombies in the neighborhood. The level didn't contain any fire plants, but it had a strange moment that I want to share with all of you. Why did the PopCap developers combine such a sweet plant like citron with a spicy stonion? I know that some people like eating pizza with a pineapple, but onions combined with citrons are too smelly even for me. Did they want to create the enduring out of that? I don't know. Day 19 was a lucky one, as I finally got a good opportunity to grind some additional suns. The only thing I had to do was to melt the ice around the twin sunflowers and the cabbage plants. Oh, and the best way to do that is to place a peppermint. The rest of the level was kinda usual, and none of the local zombies could pose a significant threat to me. Here comes day 20, on which I decided to place some jack-o'-lanterns to melt the frozen imps. Honestly, it wasn't my best decision, as this thing costs a lot of sun and blocks the zombies only in its own lane. However, it doesn't mean that jack-o'-lantern is a bad plant, it only means that I don't have a proper amount of sun to build a defense based on it. Day 21 was a good one, as we were introduced to the fire pea shooter. Together with Snapdragon, they managed to complete the level without any additional plants and fry a lot of zombies in the same way as chicken was fried in the Wild West. Who do you think is better, Pepperpool or Fire Pea Shooter? Let me know in the comments below, so we can choose a pick one. Sometimes you should try some whistles to understand what is going on in this life. That's what happened with me on day 22 of the Frostbite Caves. First of all, I saved all the crocodiles from the permafrost and then flamed all the whistles with the help of my lovely pumpkin and hot wasabi. Always remember to take down those little guys, as they can eat your brains faster than any kind of chicken or turkey. Day 23 was one of the greatest levels we played in this time adventure, as I finally had a normal amount of sun to place everything I wanted to. That's why my choice fell on combining some of the classical fire plants, as I really wanted to place as many as I could. It is so enjoyable to be at such a level, as I feel freer than ever before. Take that, whistles! On day 24, I had to grind 2500 suns, which means that the sun deficit isn't about this level. Fortunately, I used that opportunity to place some of the greatest fire plants and simply get the needed amount of sun. It was yet another banger of the Frostbite Caves. Day 25 was dedicated to Rutabaga. I'm not a big fan of this plant, so I really want to forget about its existence. We believe in the starfruit, the only real plant of such mechanic. Oh, it looks like we've got some frozen whistles to deal with. Nothing else can characterize this level better than my previous sentences. On day 26, I found nothing better than planting 2 columns of wasabi whip, as they would allow me to stop any kind of zombie even before biting my spicy friend. It all happened only because of the few sun shrooms placed in the top left corner, as such a defense isn't achievable without a sun generator. Oh, and the peppermint was yet another perfect choice for such a level. Day 27 doesn't look like an easy one. Not at all. Here I had to defend a few rotobagas from an enormous zombie spam, and only one plant could save me in such a situation. Yep, of course I'm talking about the Inferno, which doesn't even let the Gargantuar enter the lane. That is why I call it an ultimate weapon, as the rest of the fire plants would just sit down and wait for Gargantuars to come and destroy their rotobagas. Day 28 was yet another lost stand level, for which I prepared and used strategy. This time I added a pure wine on top of a pepper pult, so zombies that come close to my lawn can be fried like a chicken or whistle. Oh, and don't forget about the hot ice cubes along with the frosty Gargantuars. They all can stand against my fiery dudes, and I don't really know what had happened with this fire pea. Bruh had just disappeared. Day 29 was also beaten according to my rules, so not even the harsh conditions of the Frostbite Caves could hold me from beating such a level. However, it wasn't as easy as you might imagine, as the frozen imps and the icy cubes played a key role in breaking my defense. Yet, I managed to hold the zombie attack and finish the level with a few more lone movers. Greetings! Dr. Zombas has prehistoric questions for pitiful plant friends. Why do you hunt for a taco? Is taco all cracked up to be? Could it be a trap? Could it be a trick? Chew on that! Mwahahaha! Mwahahaha! Penny! My taco? User Dave, ignore the taco, ignore the tones. It's time to fight Dr. Zombas. Unfortunately, Day 30 isn't beatable with only fire plants, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombas that lasted only 4 minutes. Well done, we have defeated Dr. Zombas, and his attempt to make me question my taco. User Dave, our journey through time, you know that it's about more than just a taco. I suppose you're right, Penny. It's also about fried sausages. Ha! Dr. Zombas isn't defeated. Dr. Zombas crawls back from the brink of destruction. Dr. Zombas returns when you don't expect him, bringing a big surprise. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Lost City. Another 32 levels are waiting for us, but this time with lots of additional sun and golden shovels. It's time to search for some shiny gold of a fabulous civilization, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Lost City. A world of golden shovels and spicy lava guavas is waiting for us. It is the 5th world of our team adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's taco. Today we will have a lot of fun since the sun production isn't gonna be a problem for us. Without further ado, let's discover some hidden temples. Wow, welcome to the jungle. User Dave, this is no ordinary jungle. A scan of my records indicates that this is a fabulous lost city. Historical texts state that the sun was worshipped here. Resources should be plentiful. Lost City? This is it, Penny! We have found it! Crazy Dave is trying to act like Patrick. What a classic. Where else would I find my lost taco except in a lost city? Maybe in a Mexico? Your continued fixation defines all logic or reason, User Dave. I'm sure it's gonna be one of the best worlds of this challenge, as we will finally be able to plant everything we want to. Day 1, let's have some fun. If you think that everything went just as I planned because of the large number of sun tiles, then you are overestimating me. You know that I don't search for the easiest ways to beat the levels, so I wanted to deal with all the zombies using only pepper pelts. Everything sounded good on a paper until the large horde of zombies came in and consumed my lovely pepper machine. That is why I had to include the wasabi whip, as its help was invaluable. I didn't expect to see so many zombies on the first level, especially the bucket heads, so I made a huge mistake by taking the pepper pult on it. On day 2 we received even more free sun by digging up some pre-planted red stingers. This allowed me to prepare a good defense line, which was able to hold the parachute rain and a major zombie attack. We were tough nuts to crack. I was doing so well that by the end of the level I managed to plant 2 columns of fire peas. Yet something is wrong about it. We need to find an imposter among them. Usually day 3 is one of the easiest levels of the Lost City. However, not this time. It is still a regular conveyor belt level, but I'm allowed to place only lava guava to defeat the zombies. I spent around 20 minutes trying to beat it without any success, but I didn't want to give up as I knew that there was a way to beat it, especially since I saw the amount of plant food you can get after the second wave. So here is a major tip for all of you who also want to try to beat that level in the same way as I did. Before the second wave, you should plant them all at the beginning of the lawn, and after the second one, only at the end of it. This will allow you to properly use the plant food and deal with large hordes of zombies. Save as many lawn movers as you can until the final wave, and the victory is gonna be in your pocket. Day 4 is the official day of the Golden Shovel. I can say that the first appearance of the excavator zombie was challenging for me, as most of my fiery dudes are able to deal with such an enemy. Also, I really enjoyed using pumpkin in this world, as the splint food ability saved me so many times in difficult situations. Put a like on this video for my orange friend. Day 5 was a regular conveyor belt level, so let me tell you an interesting fact about this world. Did you know that the Lost City is one of the 2 worlds without any Lost End levels? If you ask me about the second one, it's modern day. I guess the main reason for that in the case of the Lost City is the mechanics of the gold tiles. However, we still have regular conveyor belt levels which don't contain any gold tiles, so it is still a mystery for me. Let me know in the comments what do you think about it. No time for precautions, we need to place pumpkins. That's what I was thinking about while beating day 6, because I love watching how Jack-o'-lantern fries all the zombies on its path. Also, the green fire is kinda unique to this game, and I wish we also had a purple one, as it's really hot. Nevertheless, I really enjoyed beating that level. Day 7. I know about 7-Eleven. This time the proper way to deal with all kinds of zombies was of course the meteor shower. It's a universal weapon for any time period and zombie type. All you need to do is to place at least a few of them at the back of the lawn and wait for a good result. Also, don't forget about the wasabi whip, which played a crucial role in the case of some production. I can always enjoy looking at 3 things, and fire is one of them. Day 8 was a special one, since the iceberg latches appeared on that level. Fortunately or not, there were no fire plants, which means that we are going to the next one. I would like to tell you that day 9 is beatable with only Snapdragon, but of course it's not. There are not enough Snapdragons to hold the attack of bucket heads and cone heads, meaning that this level is also unbeatable with only fire plants. On day 10, I decided to use the hot date for the first time in the Lost City, and trust me, it was a bad idea, because I forgot that the explorer zombie can easily dig it up and go deeper into my lawn. Always remember that hot date is a great plant, but not for the Lost City. It is scared of golden shovels. Day 11 is the level of plant diversity. Here I tried to use all the possible ways to deal with zombie spam, especially since bugs were introduced on that level. Pyrewine was a great choice to fry the nearby zombies, while Meteor Flower and Fire Pea work together to deal with zombies at a long distance. I would also like to show you the final wave, as it was an absolute banger. All the fire plants united to stop the giant bugs from reaching my lawnmowers. 11 pixel zombies out of 10. At first, I thought that day 12 would be a huge pain in today's campaign. I remember how tough it was to beat that level with only snow plants and their stolen effect, so the fire plants would be a true nightmare for me. However, things went much better than I expected them to be. The only working strategy to beat that level is to place a wasabi whip on each of the golden tile and stall the gargantuars with some other fire plants for as long as possible. This would give you enough time to grind 5000 suns and successfully finish the level. Day 13 was yet another conveyor belt level, so let me share some of my feelings to build a deeper connection with all of you, my fellow ice cubes. I'm so glad I have all of you, because you helped me to live the life of my dream. I always wanted to sit at home and make videos, lots of videos, because that's my passion and main activity since late 2017. When I was 14, I already knew that I wanted to become a YouTuber and live a free life, because freedom was always an essential thing for me. I never liked school and university because someone built a schedule for me and decided that this activity would be better than one that I prefer. Thanks to all of you for giving me the ability to live a free life. I appreciate that a lot. Nothing much can be said about Day 14, except for the fact that I really enjoyed beating the level with some local plants, as I got tired of playing with only fire plants because of their low diversity. Sometimes the levels you don't find interesting for the challenge are the most enjoyable ones. On Day 15 I had to protect some AKs, and I found nothing better than combining Fire Pea with a classical Pepper Pult. They both did pretty well, as this combination can counter all kinds of zombies from the Lost City. Also, to make sure that my AKs are secured, I planted a jack-o'-lantern for each of them to escape all the possibilities of destroying the endangered plants. What a good level it was. It looks like a treasure map. Let's go and search for the mysterious gold. My analysis suggests that the regions of this map are highly suspect. It has a big red X on it, Penny. When have big red X's ever been bad? Sure, there are no problems about that, Crazy Dave. Isn't SpongeBob SquarePants a proof to you? Day 16 was an epic battle against the gargantuars. It's hard to say something about this level as it doesn't fit to my rules and the level itself is undeveloped. If it was an attempt to show me how weak the gargantuars are in the modern game, then yes, it was a good attempt. But honestly, some of the previous mid-levels were much better than this one. Day 17 introduced us to impotents with some bad intentions. They should be destroyed as fast as possible before the zombies start coming out of the tent. Today it wasn't so hard to deal with them as we've got Jack-o'-lantern, which leaves them no chance to stand on the lawn. Just one tent can be enough to reach your brain, so be aware of such a dangerous enemy. Day 18 was yet another conveyor belt level, for which I didn't prepare anything interesting, so we're going to the next level. Day 19 is a good example of what the lawn can become if only a few tents are able to stay on it. It was hard even for the meteor flowers to fry them all, so I had to use some additional plants like jalapeno to make sure that all of my plants would survive a massive zombie attack. One of the flame bugs was so successful that he brought the zombie to the back of the lawn and activated a lawnmower, but that didn't change anything in terms of our success. However, I didn't receive an additional 10 coins, so my life is ruined. Day 20 was so fast that I couldn't even understand what was happening on the lawn. There were so many bugs, golden shovels and parachutes that it was impossible to deal with them all without the peppermint and inferno. Ironically, fire tornadoes are the only tool I've got now to deal with an insane zombie spam. Day 21 was entirely dedicated to toadstools, one of the best mushrooms in PVZ 2. I couldn't imagine my previous challenge without it, so let us enjoy playing with such a fabulous fungi once again, as not so many plants can generate suns after eating the zombies. Day 22 was a chill one, as the only thing I had to do was to press the right buttons at the right moment. You can literally beat this level without placing sun shrooms or even spending suns, as free plants can do everything on their own. Day 23 has once again proved me that I shouldn't try using some simple fire plants to beat the levels at that stage, as fire pea or pepper pult can literally do nothing to dozens of tough zombies on their own. Instead, we should put all the effort into placing reliable fire dudes like wasabi whip, which can hold a massive zombie attack. The only good way to beat Day 24 is to place Inferno for each lane of the lawn, which will allow you to save your weird flowers from zombie trampling. However, even that doesn't guarantee you that zombies won't reach the red line, so always save some additional suns to place jalapeno or lava guava in a critical situation. Day 25 was also beaten using the wasabi whip. At that point, it's really hard to say something new about the things that are happening on the lawn, so I suggest you to enjoy the moment and the hot shots of wasabi whip. On day 26, I gave another chance to the blaze leaf to show itself on a new stage. So what can I say about it? I don't really recommend you to play with it, not only at this stage, but also forget about its existence for the rest of the game. Just show me the person who drew it. I understand the appearance of such a plant in Chinese PVZ 2, as it was pretty weird since the release of the game, but it's not okay for the international PVZ 2. Frostbite became my new disappointment on day 27, as it's not even able to defeat the basic conehead. Like, I'm not asking a lot, I just want to see a good plant for its price of 175 suns, especially since it's not achievable in the adventure mode. I could literally sell a basic Snapdragon with the same success, but Snapdragon has at least a cool design and a unique vibe, while Frostbite just exists. I'm not really happy with all that stuff happening in our favorite game over the past 3 years. Day 28 was a level with magic tiles, where we had to press the right buttons at the right moment. Unfortunately, it didn't contain any fire plants, so let's forget about its existence. A massive zombie spam occurred on day 29, which I decided to stop using my lovely wasabi whip. We also faced lots of blue skull zombies, gargantuars and relic hunters, so nothing else can surprise me in this world. Of course, the only way to defeat them all is to fire everything up and place as many wasabi dudes as possible. That's how I stopped a massive zombie attack without losing any lawnmowers. Day 30 is one of my least favorite levels of the Lost City. The fast pace, combined with a weird placement of sun tiles and 3 lanes of jellies, makes everything even worse. I literally spent 1.5 minutes beating it, making me question what was that? I didn't have enough time to understand that the level had already started and then finished. That's a pretty weird feeling. On day 31, everything was going pretty fine, as I managed to save the lawnmowers until the final wave, and then by using them, I defeated the rest of the zombie horde, which were still staying on my lawn. The lesson of this level is simple: don't enter my lawn if I didn't ask you to do that. Do not think to usurp our discovery of the fabled Lost City. I and my zombies have already submitted our finds to the eminent Journal of the Missing and Mislaid. We will publish and you will perish. Not this time, Dr. Zombies, we will easily defeat you. So, day 32 didn't contain any fire plants, meaning it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted only 4 minutes. All the discovering and still no taco. The search will no doubt continue. User Dave, my discovery remains intact. The taco is still unfound, and your brains will certainly one day be mine. Oh, anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the far future. Another 25 levels are waiting for us, but this time in the year 2323. It's time to fight the futuristic metal piles, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the far future. A world full of giant robots and annoying imp spiders is waiting for us. It is the 6th world of our team adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will deal with the futuristic zombies and their weird technologies. Without further ado, let's gather some sun bombs that are falling from the sky. The future? Weird, I thought I would be hungrier. After all, I haven't eaten in 4,000 years. No comments. It's gonna be an epic time adventure since the fire plants are a perfect weapon against the robots and their zombie controllers. Day 1 is always the best one, especially when you have some pre-planted pea shooters. It allows me not only to block the zombie attack, but also to search for the imposter among us. So, out of these 3 pea shooters, the imposter is surely number 2. If you ask me why do I think so, he's the first pea shooter to receive a torchwood. Don't you find that strange? He wants to distract my attention from real problems like jetpacks and lava guava. These guys are immune to its fire tiles, so we should find another way to deal with them. Day 2, I don't forget about you, Pepperpult. This time the entire level was dedicated to such a fantastic Pepper, which is also able to deal with the shield zombie. Such a feature will be needed in the future, so I won't forget about my prehistoric friend. Also, one of the reasons to like this plant is the pepper rain. Nothing and no one can stand against the fiery peppers. It's time to feed the zombies with some hot wasabi whips. On day 3, we were introduced to imp spiders that attempted to consume my brain from behind. But don't forget that wasabi whip can slash the enemies on both sides, so their great plan has fantastically failed. Also, be aware of the local bucketheads, as they are dangerous wasabi eaters. Also, take a look at the final wave, as I really enjoyed everything that was happening on my lawn. You know who sometimes suns or bumps? This is one of these times. Yeah, we know about that, Crazy Dave. Sunbathing isn't the best idea, as it can cause a significant damage to your health. Day 4 is one of the few levels where you can forget about the sun deficit, as the fallen bombs are a great option to plant a serious defense line. Everything was going so well that I was able to save a lot of sun and plant a few columns of meteor flowers, which left no chance for zombies to make a step closer to my brain. Day 5 was some kind of a local Halloween, as this time we used my lovely jack-o'-lanterns to make a zombie barbecue. The little green pumpkins are so effective against 90% of the zombies that the rest of them aren't able to show any significant resistance to the main plant. It's effective against both bucketheads and robo coneheads, so I suggest you to get this plant as fast as possible. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick these plants. But some of my best friends are plants? Mine as well, Crazy Dave. Snow Pea and Wintermelon are cool dudes. We spent a lot of time together defeating the zombies. Day 6 was entirely dedicated to green plants, and that wasn't my will. However, it was a pretty cool level, since the plant choice wasn't a bad one and it gave me a bit of a rest from playing with only fire plants. Sometimes, days like this one are the best possible rest from turning your challenge into a dull routine. 12 flopas out of 10. Day 7 comes from a heaven, as I didn't find a better description of how my Pepperpult was saved from being eaten by a robo conehead. I was lucky, really lucky. However, taking the Pepperpult on such a level wasn't my best decision, since it's not capable of holding a major zombie attack, which consists of enemies tougher than bucketheads. The best possible option here would be to take Inferno and combine it with a meteor flower. But come on, that would be too boring for all of you. Instead, you can look at the real fight with some major troubles, which I ended up without losing any lone movers. Wait, is that a futuristic tablet? We should take a look at it. Something's wrong about it. Perhaps a hole in the top right corner? How is it still working? Oh no, he's back. Welcome back, gardener. In this year, your brains were collected ages ago. Collect them again soon, Dr. Edgar Zambas. Watch out, neighbor. I'm pretty sure he wasn't talking about my brains. I would say there is an evidence to the contrary. As you all know, Day 8 is an epic zombie battle, which has Snapdragon as the only included fire plant. Perhaps it's a great chance to share my opinion about that world once again. Far Future is for sure one of the most underrated time adventures in the game, since it has the same quality as the first 3 worlds, because 90% of it was completed even before the global launch of Plants vs Zombies 2. I honestly like everything about this world, since it feels unique. Plants, zombies and music, everything is perfect. Even the local gargantuars are unique, and not just a redesign of a classical Gork. You should give this world another chance, and I'm sure you will love it a lot. Day 9 was the right time to play with Inferno, since the number of available plants in the lone was limited. The only minus of such a fantastic fire plant is an awful sound effect, which is too loud compared to the rest of the plants. Without exaggeration, it's painful to listen to it, so I want to ask Slingshot Games to make Inferno at least a bit quieter. Did you know that the hot wisps of Wasabi Whip are a great choice against the Discotron? On day 10, I planted a whole column of Wasabi Friends to prove to you that it's reasonable to use them against the flying disco zombies and the rest of the horde. Oh, and don't forget about the Pyre Wine, which also played a significant role in stopping all the enemies, since its fire ability works on any kind of zombie that comes close to it. I like to save some sun for a rainy day. It can get you out of a pickle or into an impeach. Day 11 was the first last stand level of the Far Future. Here I decided to defend my lawn by planting a column of fire peas combined with pepper pults. If something goes wrong or zombies get too close to my defenders, first they need to consume a woody torchwood, which will turn them into an overfried barbecue, and only after that my main defense line is open for being eaten. However, such a scenario happened only a few times and all of my lone movers were saved, meaning that the level was successfully completed. It's time to show the local zombies what the meteor shower is. Day 12 began just as usual, with 7 suns and planting as many fire plants as possible. It was also the first main level where we stuck with the Robo Gargantuar, which is by far the most dangerous enemy of the Far Future. However, even such a robot didn't become a big trouble, so we have managed to defeat it before the situation became catastrophic. However, the final wave turned out to be the great battle with the futuristic zombies, which fire plants obviously won. Take that, robots! On day 13, I made a huge mistake by taking a hot date on such a level, as Mecha Football Zombie doesn't find it a huge problem to deal with. This is yet another world where such a fantastic plant is highly reduced, so I recommend you to always remember about some specific robots that are going to appear on the level. The situation isn't so bad until you have a jalapeno or peppermint, but without them, the problem becomes catastrophic. On day 14, I had a limited amount of sun to spend, so I found nothing better than taking Meteor Flower, which allowed me to hold a massive wave of jetpacks and bucket heads. Don't underestimate any plant until you find a good way or situation to use it. Protect those citrons. It takes a lot of pulp to stand your ground like that. Compared to some of my previous challenges, day 15 wasn't the worst one, probably even one of the best. Unlike day 13 where hot date was a huge mistake, this time it was an ultimate weapon against the Robo Coneheads. The rest of the lanes were protected with the help of Inferno, which made sure that none of the zombies could reach my lawnmowers. Summarizing everything, Citron is a tough nut to crack. Day 16 was yet another conveyor belt level, so let me tell you an interesting fact about the far future. Did you know that this world's supposed to be the first one that contains gargantuars? Previously, until the map update in 2014, the game didn't have any gargantuars in it, meaning that the far future was designed to be a really hard world, and I can feel how perfectly it would fit in that role, since the rest of the zombies were also much tougher than all from the previous 3 worlds. Thank you so much for your attention. On day 17, I had to play with some pre-picked plants for me, one of which was the magnifying grass. In my opinion, it's one of the most underestimated plants in the entire game, as the gimmick of turning suns into laser shots was never seen before. After all, I can even see it as a premium plant instead of a star fruit, as magnifying grass truly deserves it. On day 18, we had to produce an insane 6,000 suns, which means that I could afford myself everything I wanted to. I haven't played a lot with the fire pea shooter since the first level of the far future, so that's why my choice fell on planting a few columns of fiery dudes. By the end of the level, my lawn was fabulous. It consisted of various kinds of fire plants, which left no chance for zombies to get at least to the jack-o'-lantern, especially since Wasabi Whip was also protecting everything. On day 19, sun bombs were once again falling from the sky like artillery shells. I couldn't even imagine that combining Inferno with Meteor Flower would give me such a fantastic effect, since the lawn reminded me of a battlefield from the Great War somewhere in France in 1918. Day 20 was pretty horrible for me, since my first attempt went from a miracle to reality in just a minute. First, I managed to destroy a spider imp when I thought I was done, and then only 2 seconds stopped me from beating the level on my very first attempt. I was cooked after that. However, I didn't want to give up, so my second attempt was much better than the first one, and hot dates combined with star fruits managed to hold a severe zombie attack. On day 21, I once again had to grind 5000 suns to beat the level. There is nothing much I can say about it, since the level started to repeat and the plant choice was nothing more than Inferno and Meteor Flower combined. That's how I spent this level. Day 22 was yet another last stand level for which I prepared a unique strategy. This time I combined some of my best fire plants to deal with big boys, and if something goes wrong on the other lanes, I prepared the Wasabi Whip for each of it, so not even the jetpack zombie could escape its fate. My idea has worked just as I wanted to, so the hot date survived until the final wave and saved my pumpkins from being smashed by gargantuars. Also, the rest of the zombies were defeated by Wasabi Whips, as they are the best choice to control the adjacent tiles. On day 23, the meteor shower was the only option to deal with annoying robots, especially since the plant number was limited, and so was the amount of available sun. With each day completed, we're coming closer to defeating Dr. Zombus. Day 24 was the third level with falling sun bombs, the hardest one. If I didn't pick some of the classical fire plants on this level, this would mean a total domination of a newly introduced fire plants, which can't be a thing in a world like Far Future, so we have to break a tendency and beat the level just like we always used to. As you may see, a few columns of classical fire plants aren't weaker than Inferno and Meteor Flower combined, which means that they are fiery good. Day 25 didn't contain any fire plants, meaning it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombus that lasted only 4 minutes. Oh, that was hypno-amazing. I want to eat that hypno taco again. I need my time machine. Penny, did you feed Crazy Dave with the magical shrooms? They are for zombies, not for the Crazy Dave. Hypnozombnosis! Hypnozombnosis! Drats. Or it was zombnohypsosis? Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Dark Ages, Another 20 levels are waiting for us, but this time it's gonna be the most challenging adventure I have ever had, since the sun deficit is going to be an insane for us. Get ready to enter the most challenging world of this time adventure, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Dark Ages. A world of dangerous clowns and scary looking gorks is waiting for us. It is the 7th world of our time adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will deal with the medieval zombies without receiving any suns falling from the sky. Without further ado, let's dive deep into the dark epoch. Whoa there! Who dimmed the lights? No one, user Dave. We have simply arrived in the Dark Ages. Sounds gloomy to me. Sounds dangerous to me. Indeed, according to my research, a plague has swept this era. Also, the sun no longer falls from the sky. And that's a huge trouble for us. You can't even imagine the scale of it. So, the only possible way for us to gather the sun is to destroy the tombstones with the help of the peppermint. That's how I got 675 suns at the beginning of day 1. You may think it's a lot and I'm just making my gameplay much easier than it could be, however, it was everything I had for the rest of the level. If you think that I rationally spanned them, of course not, because I wanted to plant some fire peas and got this terrible situation when the only way to defeat the zombies was to use the peppermint. While the zombie horde was cleared, meaning the level was successfully completed. Day 2, I don't make a joke out of you. On this night, I fully realized that the only possible way to beat this world is to combine the meteor flower with peppermint to defeat the zombies and gather some suns to plant at least a few artillery machines. This time we had a total of 875 suns, but remember that the hardness has increased even faster than the amount of available suns. We had to deal with dozens of bucket heads and cone heads, and that's not the easiest task with only a few meteor flowers. However, the level was completed without losing all the lone movers. Day 3 is going to be the best description of the Dark Ages, as this time I had only 75 suns to spend. And yeah, that's not a joke. You may ask me how I spent so much sun on such an easy level, and I will tell you that I defeated a single buckethead zombie, which the peppermints previously damaged. Now you probably understand the catastrophe of my situation. Remember that a single peppermint is not even enough to defeat the buckethead, so the only way to deal with such zombies is to get the second peppermint with the help of the plant food. And remember, that's only the 3rd level of the Dark Ages. Day 4 was a pretty funny conveyor belt level on which I spawned lots of gargantuars to make them work on me. Honestly, it's one of my favorite conveyor belt levels in the game, as it includes some of my favorite plants and the level space is chill enough to enjoy everything that is currently happening on the lawn. 14 flopas out of 10. Day 5 was the first time we saw the Jester zombie, which isn't a significant threat for us, as our plants can easily deal with such a clown. As usual, I choose the meteor flower to defeat the zombies, as it is the only possible way to get them at any corner of the lawn. Of course, except for a peppermint. Right before the final wave, I received an opportunity to plant the second flower, which made my gameplay much easier, as this was a 100% increase in number of plants placed on my lawn. Day 6 was the first last stand level for which I prepared a unique strategy. This time I wanted to try something new, so I combined Inferno with Hot Date and Wasabi Whip. Even if some enemies manage to get close to my fire machine, the Wasabi Whip will easily cook them all with the hot wisps before they even understand that the sweet flavor of the Hot Date was a giant trap. Unfortunately, Day 7 is an impossible one, as the amount of plant foods doesn't allow me to deal with the Night Zombie, which is tougher than the Buckethead and requires 3 peppermints instead of 2 to be defeated. Additionally, we didn't receive any suns during the level, meaning that the chances of beating it with only peppermint are decreasing to 0. However, if we plant a full column of sunshrooms and take some tough bodies like pepperpult, firey and wasabi whip, then the levels is possible with only fire plants and a few sun producers. On day 8, we had to survive the zombie attack with the given plants, so there's a good chance to tell you something interesting about the Dark Ages. Did you know that the life expectancy during this time period was only 30 to 40 years, which is insane low? According to this time period, some of you have already lived 30 or even 40% of your life. In my case, it's already over 50%, as I am 22. Thanks to the advancements in medicine, science and food abundance, we can now live up to 80 or even 90 years, which is great, as you can do even more things during this time, like watching my videos. Day 9 contained lots of fuel potions and at the same time lots of tombstones with suns. This allowed me to prepare a strong defense line and save enough suns for critical situations, such as placing jalapeno to defeat the night zombie. I was surprised by the fact that this level is much easier than the few nights we faced before. Well done, Meteor Flower! Day 10 was a conveyor belt level and the midpoint of the Dark Ages, so there's a good chance to express some of my feelings about this world. Comparing with the far future, which was developed right before the Dark Ages, we see a significant decrease in the quality and creativity of the world, as it lacks unique plans and mechanics. I love the idea of Jester, Wizard and the King Zombie, but I still feel that this world lacks something. Maybe because most of the plants are copies from PVZ 1, or there are not enough minigames to make it more enjoyable to play. After all, I can't say that this is a bad world, more like a mid one. Another day, another experiment. Day 11 began with planting a few wasabi whips, which turned into a huge catastrophe because of the wizard zombie, and later led to failing the level. However, on my second attempt, I used Inferno as my main weapon against all kinds of zombies, which resulted in a massive success, as this fire plant is capable of dealing with all kinds of zombies, no matter how fast or well defended they are. I guess he's going to become really needed in the following levels. You won't believe me, but I failed day 12 right before successfully finishing it. I needed a few more seconds to play the death animation and go to the next one, but one of the puff shrooms decided to disappear right before it. On the next few attempts, I accidentally forgot to feed my puff shrooms, which also led to failing it once again. However, everything went fine on my first attempt, and I managed to beat the level like nothing had happened before it. A rock with a sword. Wait, is that a Minecraft? Why would anyone go and stick a nice sword into a dirty rock? I understand it to be a test, user Dave. Only someone with great physical strengths and strengths of characters may pull it. I bet someone with a jackhammer could remove it. A crazy someone. I'm sure you're not talking about yourself, Crazy Dave. An elegant but no doubt effective solution to the problem, user Dave. Day 13 was dedicated to my boy Peanut. Someone might call it weak, but two heads are always better than one. The level wasn't so hard, but the right placement of all the plants and fungi played a key role in beating it. On day 14 we had to gather 5000 suns, and it's impossible to do that by only breaking the tombstones, so I had to use the sun bean to collect the needed amount of sun. Well, at least I finally had an opportunity to play with some other fire plants, except for Meteor Flower and Inferno. I was honestly surprised by the efficiency of Pepperpult and firey, as I thought they would be much weaker in such a harsh reality of the Dark Ages. Day 15 was yet another last stand level, for which I decided to use Jack-o'-lantern and Pyrewine, as they fit perfectly with the local atmosphere. You shouldn't underestimate their fire abilities, as both of them were frying zombies like a real barbecue for the entire level. The only big danger for them was of course the wizard zombie, which turned pumpkins into sheep. A plant-animal transformation, that's what we need. Anyway, the level was successfully completed and none of the pumpkins were eaten by zombies. Honestly, I thought that day 16 would repeat the fate of day 7 and become the second unbeatable level of the Dark Ages. However, it didn't, but let's start right from the beginning. The first lone movers were lost right after the first wave, and the number of knight and king zombies was only increasing. However, the Sungraves became a last hope for beating it. So I fried the entire lane with the jalapeno, which was my first success on this level. Then I destroyed all the king zombies and planted a lava guava boosted by peppermint, fried the upper zombie with the jalapeno, and stopped the last one with another lava guava. I was so proud of myself after beating it. On day 17, I had enough suns to build a proper defense, as the level provided such an opportunity to stop the zombies boosted by evil potions. After the first wave, I already had a full line of infernos and a few meteor flowers, meaning that the chance to lose this level has rapidly decreased to 0. Like I said, everything went so well that even the local Garg wasn't able to enter the lone. On day 18, we had to survive the zombie attack with the given plans, so let's just say that buttering the zombies was the best minigame you could ever think of. Surprisingly, day 19 was an easy one, as all the hard zombies attacked me from lanes free of the magnet rooms. At one point I was really close to failure, but their good reaction and the jalapeno pepper saved me from failing it. Bringing all the zombies to one lane with the help of the hot date is actually a great idea, especially in case of a severe sun deficit. Only the Gargs from the final wave managed to get to my lone movers, but that didn't stop us from beating the level. Hey Penny, what is plant food made of? I fear the true nature of plant food requires further analysis, user Dave. Excuse me while I run some tests. So day 20 didn't contain any fire plants, meaning it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted only 3 minutes. I have found no evidence that plant food contains zombie or zombies. Phew, plants shouldn't eat zombies who eat plants. Except Chomper, he has to. Dude needs the fiber. Put a like on this video to support my little Chompy. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Neon Mixtape tour. Another 32 levels are waiting for us, but this time with lots of great music and the vibe of the 1980s. Put on your headphones and leather jackets, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Neon Mixtape tour. A world of pixel zombies and epic music battles is waiting for us. It is the 8th world of our team adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will smash lots of arcade machines only to stop the pixel enemies from getting to my brain. Without further ado, let's get back into the 1980s. Flashback. I remember this decor from when I chased square bows as a kid. Indeed, user Dave. We appear to have arrived in the midst of the Neon Mixtape tour. I'm feeling the rhythm! I am feeling the rhythm! The main reason I love this world is its unbelievably cool music. Sometimes the rhythm changes so fast that it's hard to save enough suns to stop the enormous zombie attack, and day 1 is the prime example of it. Everything started just as usual. I planted my fire pea shooters, zombies came on the lawn, and everyone was happy about that. However, when we came closer to the final wave, the situation started to go out of control. Everything was trying to tell me that you shouldn't play this world without sunflowers, but we will continue to do so, as sunflower is not a fire plant. Well, compared to the Dark Ages and its first level, the difficulty has significantly increased. On day 2, we received a free fat beet, which I immediately dug up to get some additional suns, as this plant isn't a good one, especially since Punk Zombie is the #1 enemy of this day. Thanks to a fantastic artillery shell of a meteor flower, we managed not only to stop a severe zombie attack, but also to save some plant foods, showing that it's possible to beat it without using them all. I got a real cactus feeling about this, Penny. Indeed, cactus has changed over time, Crazy Dave. Wait, but that's actually an old cactus, since we are in the time period which is 30 years before the moment when Dave consumed his taco. It's technically a parent of the cactus we know in PVZ1, so day 3 of the Neon Mixtape tour failed to fool me, as I know the original story of cactus. If it was a promotion of a new premium plant, then it totally failed, as I don't want to buy your cactus. The further we come, the more I realize that the next levels are impossible without the peppermint, and day 4 is a good example of it. Even 2 rows of wasabi whip combined with a peppermint were unable to stop the horde of the bucketheads without a lose, but they still want to tell me that buying cactus for real money is a great idea. If such a scenario happens on day 4, I can't even imagine what we will be stuck with in the upcoming days. Day 5 became the first major problem, as the level's increased speed doesn't give a single chance to prepare properly for the upcoming zombie waves. I was failing this level over and over since Fatbeat isn't able to defend himself, and I am not always able to protect him from zombie bites. Now, I fully understand how easy it was to play this world with only ice plants, as they are capable of stalling the zombies and simply freezing them. At this point, Meteor Flower is my only hope of successfully beating this world. Day 6 was a conveyor belt level without any fire plants, so this is a perfect chance to tell you something interesting. Sometimes we don't really understand how far ago some scenes or events have happened, so comparing them with an equal time period in the future gives us a better perspective on many scenes. For example, let's take the Neon Mixtape tour in the year 1980. Do you actually realize that in 2025 we are equally away from 1980 and 2070? While the first one feels not so far away from us, the second one is imagined as a really far future, which none of us can imagine at this point. It's an interesting topic and I'll continue it a bit later. Let's say that day 7 was a good one, since Inferno has saved the entire situation from a state known as collapse. However, you shouldn't consider it as an ultimate weapon, as Inferno isn't a solution to all the problems we have. Still, this body is really efficient, so I can suggest getting it to make your gameplay even smoother, but at the same time, destroying your headphones with an awful tornado sound. If you think that I created a brand new strategy for day 8, then you are overestimating me, since the number of available and useful plans has decreased to only a few. If you take a closer look at everything that is happening on my lawn, you can understand that none of the plants except for Inferno can survive this situation. There are way too many punks together with bucketheads to stop them with some simple plants like Pepperpult, Fire Pea or even Meteor Flower, which struggles to defeat formidable enemies. On the other hand, I'm glad that I'm still able to beat these levels with only fire plants. Day 9 didn't contain any fire plants, so I want to continue telling my thoughts about the time paradox. I was born in 2003 and I'm 22 at this point, so I witnessed not only the rise of the internet, but of the entire epoch, when people started using smartphones, watching videos on YouTube and working sitting at home. None of that existed just 20 years ago, and I'm a bit scared by the speed of the progress surrounding us. What will life be like in the next 20 years? I don't know, but I don't think that humanity is going in the right way. Day 10 was yet another conveyor belt level, and this time let me share some other feelings with you. All the time I play this game, I always want to bring something special for you, creating a unique atmosphere in my videos so people can enjoy them while having a meal, spending free time, or simply watching YouTube while lying in the bed. I understand that sometimes I can go too far away from the main topic of the video, but I hope that my audience understands all the feelings inside me and my soul. I'm glad that I have all of you, and I really appreciate the chance to make videos for you. On day 11, I had to survive the zombie attack with the given plans, so I suggest skipping it, as nothing is prepared for this level. On day 12, the meteor shower affected all the zombies that tried to reach my brain, especially a newly introduced MC Zomp. The only zombie that could deal with my meteor flower was of course the hair metal gargantuar and his soundwave. However, even such an enemy didn't manage to get to my lawnmowers, so the level was beaten without losing any of them. 11 Minecraft sheep out of 10. Day 13 was the first last stand level of the Neon Mixtape tour, for which I finally prepared some classical fire plants to stop the enormous zombie attack. Of course, the level wouldn't be possible to beat without the peppermint, but the fire abilities of both Fire P and Pepperpult were insanely good, so the only thing they needed to cook this level was the peppermint. Even after losing all the plants and the lone movers, we managed to hold on and successfully finish the level. On day 14, Cactus was once again ruling the level together with Sandshrooms, so I was sure that none of the zombies would break through the premium defense line. Mr. Floppa is proud of a prickly friend. Day 15 was much easier than I expected it to be, mainly because the zombie spam wasn't as serious as it was on some of the previous levels, so Meteor Flower was able to deal with fancy girls and evil rappers. Oh, what about the fat beat? Dude was just hanging around while listening to his favorite music. That's all he did for the entire level. Somebody passed me a note in a homeroom, Penny. It says to meet behind the bike racks at lunchtime for a wonderful surprise. I believe some skepticism about this note is in order, user Dave. I think that this note was addressed to the Dave's Taco. Do you feel that you have grooved? Did you ban your hat? Have you dug it? Now the party is over! Melt before the musical might of my majestic hair metal gargantuar. I'm scared, Penny, it's 2 minutes to midnight. Be brave, user Dave, we will jilt this ditty on rock and roll. Day 16 was an epic zombie battle which contained lots of butter. I like butter in the zombies. Anyway, that's an amazing chance to share some of my feelings about this world. For me, the Neon Mixtape Tour is a synonym of phrase quality instead of quantity. We finally saw lots of unique zombies with amazing gimmicks and distinctive abilities that none of the other worlds could repeat. The only minus of the Neon Mixtape Tour is the bad plants. Don't get me wrong, but Fat Beats and the rest of the plants are really weak compared to bodies from Big Wave Beach or Far Future. However, the rest of the Neon Mixtape Tour is a true masterpiece. If all the worlds were made in the same way as this one, we would get a totally different game as a result. You won't believe me, but day 17 was beaten by using Fire Pea Shooter, a good old body from the Frostbite Caves. If I have a unique chance to use some of the classical fire plants, especially at that stage, I'll always do my best to take them and defeat the zombies with their help. You know what? I love gigantic fire peas. Don't ask me why I told you that scene. Day 18 was a fantastic chance to plant a whole row of wasabi whip and destroy the zombies with its hot wisps. I can't explain that, but the second part of the Neon Mixtape Tour is much easier than the first one, since I couldn't imagine beating a single level with only a column of wasabi whip at the beginning of this journey. However, it's our new reality and I like it. Day 19 promoted one of my favorite plants in the entire game, known as Electric Blueberry. This plant gets overhated by numerous people without a reason, but in my opinion it's a solid berry that can one-shot any kind of zombie, and it's not overpowered like Cold Snapdragon or Pokra, giving it a perfect balance which amazingly matches with the Neon Mixtape Tour and the rest of the worlds. Oh, and its plant design is really cool, I love it. On day 20, I combined Meteor Flower with Inferno to stop and use zombie attack, and everything was going fine for the entire level, but at one point I was really close to losing some lone movers. If you think that I ended up this level with the whole column of fire bodies, then your expectations are too high, as I finished it with only a jack-o'-lantern. Don't ask me how did this happen. Day 21 wasn't a hard one, but everything had to be counted perfectly to match the zombie's appearance with the usage of peppermint and the rest of the plants, as someone had to stop a fast-moving gargantuar. The level was beaten on the third attempt, and I think it's a great result at that stage. Day 22 is one of my favorite conveyor belt levels in the game, as it includes some of my favorite features of the Neon Mixtape Tour, which are pixel zombies and a fabulous Porsche. If you really enjoy playing Minecraft, this level is going to become one of your favorites. Day 23 also contains some pixel zombies, but this time without my lovely Porsche. However, I found it a major reason to play with a Fire Pea once again, as no one except him can fry such a delicious barbecue. Also, when Bro is boosted by peppermint, he turns into a real killing machine. I wouldn't suggest zombies to mess with such a pea shooter. Day 24 was once again a conveyor level, which I decided to beat by using a super duper combination of fire pea and pepper pult. I'm sure that all the zombies were shocked by the appearance of prehistoric plants in the 1980s, since they had been super efficient in stopping the zombie horde and even frying barbecue out of a hair metal gark. This shows a total domination of classical fire plants over the modern zombies. I was so hyped about my previous victories, so I decided to beat day 25 by using the pepper pult, since the pepper rain is a super efficient way to deal with zombies that don't take umbrellas while going for a walk. Oh, let's forget about the existence of the final wave and believe in the supremacy of pepper pult. Day 26 was beaten from the very first attempt, since Inferno was the only real option to deal with the fast-moving zombies who tried to consume my fabulous spore shroom. However, unlike the fat beet, which is really useless, the spore shroom managed to defend itself and even spread some of its brothers all over the lawn, making the whole defense much easier. You should never underestimate such a great shroom, because who else except him can duplicate itself and spread across the yard. Day 27 was a bit stinky since garlic appeared on the level. Yet it was an enjoyable conveyor belt level, so even the stinky body was much more helpful than a useless fat beet. Day 28 brought some new troubles for us, since the boombox zombie was introduced on that level. In such a scenario, lots of fire plants becomes useless because of their music, so I had to take someone who could deal with them as fast as possible. And as you may have noticed, this guy is the Wasabi Whip. He was holding the lawn pretty well until the second wave, when the music coming from the boombox left no chance for our spicy friends. However, thanks to Peppermint and Hot Date, we managed to stop the zombie attack and successfully finish the level. Day 29 introduced all kinds of zombies we saw previously, but even that didn't help them to reach my brain. The final wave was an absolute banger, as the theme song of Hair Metal Gargantuar is one of the best compositions I have ever heard in this game. This makes me want to replay this level over and over, only to listen to such a fantastic music. Day 30 was pretty much the same as day 29, but with an increased hardness and a limited number of plants that you can place on the lawn. Of course, I took Inferno to such a massive zombie attack, as he is an equal enemy to all the zombies you see on the lawn. It was undoubtedly a great battle, and both zombies and plants were fighting like heroes, leaving me no chance to say that it was an average zombie battle, but instead I'd like to say that it was an epic one. On day 31, I had a lot of fun while playing with Electric Blueberry, as one-shotting a Gargantuar is the thing I like the most about this game. Yeah, the level didn't contain any fire plants, but Electric Blueberry deserves a special mention in this video, because I love blueberries and I really enjoy playing with Electric Blueberry. Oh, and take a look at the lawn I had at the end of the level. It looks pretty cool. So day 32 didn't contain any fire plants, meaning it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted only 5 minutes. Yerps, that was close, with so many exciting timing and rhythm changes. I fear we have only hit pause on Dr. Zombies' heinous deal. Indeed, next verse, same and yet worse. I go now to one you cannot even imagine. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Jurassic Marsh. Another 32 levels are waiting for us, but this time with lots of dinosaurs and strange primal plants. The time has finally come to try the primal power, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Jurassic Marsh. A world full of dangerous dinosaurs and powerful zombies is waiting for us. It is the 9th world of our time adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will have a unique chance to turn plants into cobblestones. Without further ado, let's try to search for a delicious taco in prehistory. Alert, user Dave, my sensors indicate we have moved millions of years into the past. Yubbers, that's before I was even born. Correct, we seem to have landed in some form of Jurassic Marsh. I knew I smelled more oxygen. So we've come to the point where everything will turn into survival games, as Jurassic Marsh isn't about strategy, it's about a massive zombie spam combined with annoying dinosaurs that nothing and no one can stop, since fire plants didn't compete in frying prehistoric lizards. Anyway, let's get back to the day 1, where everything went wrong right after the first wave, as fossil head zombies had already appeared on my lawn. Oh, and the best part of that all is that I didn't have enough plant foods to get some more peppermints, which resulted in losing some lawnmowers. However, the pepper rain has solved all the problems and the level was successfully completed. Day 2 was the first level on which dinosaurs appeared, meaning that the pepper pult was not an option here, since Raptor didn't care about its existence. If you think that Wasabi Whip was a good choice for such a level, then your expectations are too high, because fossil heads are big fans of wasabi slabs. So the only option that is left for me is to survive this mess for as long as possible. As you may see, we ended up this level without a single wasabi whip, but with the same positions we had on the previous level. I count that as a victory. Day 3 was a conveyor belt level which attempted to combine some uncombinable plants and make them a great combo. Excuse me, but eating garlic after gulping a delicious watermelon isn't the best idea, especially since grape shot is also a major option here. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of that conveyor belt level, so we are moving to the next one. On day 4, I finally tried to build a proper defense line by setting all the plants closer to the lawn movers and leaving some free space for jack-o'-lanterns. This strategy worked much better than expected, but the sun deficit was still a significant problem, as all the plants were too expensive to be planted frequently. However, I didn't lose a single lawn mower, which is already an achievement for me. On day 5, I decided to use the meteor flower, which perfectly fits with the Jurassic Marsh. Honestly, if I didn't know that meteor flower is Acidium, I would consider it a new plant for this world, since its idea and design perfectly match everything that is happening in this world, especially when you realize that Jurassic Marsh has ended up with a meteor that fell on the Earth. What a cool reference it could be. On day 6, I found nothing better than planting a whole row of infernos, since a new dinosaur appeared on this level, and that isn't a good sign for us. Fortunately, everything went pretty fine, as Inferno is an ultimate weapon against the prehistoric zombies, but I still miss the Snow Pea and its stolen ability. Day 7 was yet another conveyor belt level on which nothing special had happened, since my cobblestones were able to protect everyone from a massive zombie spam. In my opinion, the level would be much more enjoyable if only it contained some stunning icy plants. Day 8 was an average one, because nothing special had happened during this level. Like on some previous levels, I used Wasabi Whip to stop the zombie attack, and when something went wrong, I added lava guava, plant food, jalapeno or peppermint, which allowed me not only to save all my lawnmowers, but also to ensure that my brains were secured. Oh, and Wasabi Whip was doing his best to fry the zombies like a spicy snack. Day 9 was an absolute banger, since numerous dinosaurs have fallen in love with me. I'm not kidding. They were staying alongside cobblestones and kicking out all the zombies who thought that they were friends with lizards. This is yet another level that didn't contain any fire plants, but why should I skip them if I want to tell you something about them? Day 10 provided a good explanation of why shouldn't I use a hot date in the context of the Jurassic Marsh realities. Here, not all the zombies come to your trap from the beginning of the lawn, and sometimes it can lead to significant troubles, so I would suggest having an extra peppermint for such a case. However, the situation is still better than it was at the beginning of the journey, which makes me feel a bit more relaxed. Guys, I'm sorry for lying you about the hot date, as day 11 proved me that it's a very useful plant, and I only have to find the proper way to use it. The other part of it was the meteor flower, which showed itself at its best, since the meteor shower combined with the attractions of the hot date is an absolute match. If you can't stop the zombie horde using some traditional ways, then you need to find a new one. I thought that day 12 would be much harder, since the primal gargantuar appeared on the level, and I couldn't lose more than 6 plants, which is a good obstacle in my case. Of course, nothing and no one except for Inferno could stop such a massive zombie attack, which included the toughest gargantuar in the game. If regular Garg has 3600 HP, the Jurassic Gargantuar has 5400 HP, which is 33% higher than an average one. Like I said, it's not an okay world. Day 13 became the first day of survival games in Jurassic Marsh, since the level's pace became insanely fast, so the only option I left with was dealing with zombies as fast as possible to provoke the subsequent waves to finish them with the help of the lawnmowers or peppermint. The sun deficit is now more than just a lack of sun, it's my sentence to make the gameplay as hard as possible. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare anything for day 14, which means that we are skipping it, since no fire plants had appeared on that level. On day 15, the meteor shower had escalated to the level where it could take down all the zombies that were still staying on the lawn. It became possible because lots of tough zombies appeared on that level, and most of them are not beatable with only peppermint, so meteor shower had to deal with everyone who survived the massive plant attack. Oh, and take a look at my cobblestone Johnnies! I spent 2 plant foods to turn cobblestones into obsidian. What a great Minecraft reference. Wait, did this Garg drop a meteor? We should take a look at it. Look, Penny, a fresh star honky, a meteorite. Curious. My records indicate this should be bigger. Bigger? Like super burrito sized? More like super Seattle sized. I hope history has not gone awry. Surrender your brains for this, inane time stumblers, else you shall share the fate of these terrible thunder lizards. Extinction! But I don't want to get extinct. Dinosaurs were thinking the same, Crazy Dave. Day 16 was an absolute mess and one of my least favorite conveyor belt levels in the game. It's not about strategy or thinking in the right way to beat the level. It's not even about hardness, it's just a massive zombie spam where you don't have enough tools to deal with them all, so you have to survive it somehow and go to the next level. For the past year, I beat this world 3 times or even 4 times, and I can say that my opinion of it didn't change at all, because Jurassic Marsh isn't a good world. If Neon Mixtape Tour and Big Wave Beach have a necessary hardness that makes the gameplay both harder and more exciting, the same can be said about the Jurassic Marsh. It's just about a zombie spam combined with an overpowered mechanics of dinosaurs. That's all I can say about it. I can't explain that, but day 17 felt much easier than day 1 of the Jurassic Marsh. It's hard for me to understand that, but I suggest that's because of the meteor flowers, which were capable of holding the zombie attack, unlike the pepper pults, which were failing the first level like noobs. On the other hand, we faced the same zombies on each level, with the only difference being their number. What do you guys think about it? Please let me know in the comments below. Day 18 was yet another survival games level, which I beat like a pro by using some instant plants combined with a hot date. I couldn't imagine dealing with all the zombies you see on the screen without a sugary flavor of this guy. Oh, and take a look at the final wave, and then tell me that it's a normal world and nothing wrong is happening on my lawn. Mr. Floppa wouldn't approve such a world. Day 19 was a conveyor belt level without any fire plants, so that's a good chance to tell you something interesting. Did you know that called Snapdragon was one of the first broken plants added to PVZ 2? Before the addition of Jurassic Marsh into the game, the premium plants were kinda balanced, but Grapeshot with called Snapdragon have changed everything, and since then, lots of broken plants have been added into Plants vs Zombies 2. On day 20, I had to produce 2000 suns, and that was a fantastic chance to play with some classical fire plants for the first time since day 1. Not everything went perfectly while beating it, but that was an amazing experience, as I finally played with some other fire plants except for Inferno, Wasabi Whip or Meteor Flower. 11 floppas out of 10. Day 21 is the definition of why Jurassic Marsh is a bad world, since not even the Inferno is capable of holding such a massive zombie attack combined with enormous abilities of flying lizards. When PopCap developers thought about this world, did they feel that adding a pumpkin would be necessary to play this world properly? How am I supposed to deal with all the zombies at the back of the lawn? Using Split Pea? They can't be serious about it. Day 22 was the first last stand level on which I combined classical fire plants together with jack-o'-lantern, so no one could get close to the fire plants and consume them. Everything went like I wanted, since peppermint did its job pretty well by boosting pepper pools together with fire pea, creating a gigantic blue piece. Wait, did anyone pin the pool? Day 23 is yet another definition of a bad level, since I couldn't even understand what was happening on my lawn and why everyone was moving so fast. Like, take a look at those imps. I didn't speed up this footage, so that's the real speed in the game. At one point I was really close to failing it, but luckily I had the necessary amount of suns to stop them all and move to the next level. Day 24 and I don't even know what to say about it. Like, seriously, how am I supposed to deal with all of them without the peppermint and the lawnmowers? Every time I enter a new level, a new trash starts to happen on my lawn, and it all came to the point where it's hard to say something new about everything you see on your screens, because it's just the same as it was before. I somehow managed to stop it, but it doesn't give me a good feeling, since it's not a type of game that I like. If you think that Day 24 was an absolute trash, then you should think twice, Michael. Day 25 introduced us to Ankylosaurus, which delivers the zombies right to your lawnmowers, so you shouldn't worry about using them. I want to ask you this question once again. How am I supposed to stop it? When I played with only shrooms and ice plants, I always had a chance to use Cold Snap or Ice Shroom, but this time I left one by one with all of them, without a possibility to stall at least someone. As you may see, the only thing I was doing for the entire level was placing instant plants and saving plant foods for the peppermint. Yeah, it's technically possible to beat these levels with only fire plants, but at what cost? Day 26 is an absolute... it's the peak of absurdity. Ain't no way someone likes it, because I don't see a single reason to enjoy such a level with a hilarious amount of dinosaurs, restrictions, and what's even worse, powerful zombies. I beat it from the very first attempt, but that's not even funny to talk about. Let's move to the next one. Day 27 was my epic revenge, since I was finally able to hold the enormous zombie attack without losing a single plant or lawnmower. This level was beaten in 1 minute and 30 seconds, but I believe that is possible to be done in less than a minute if you place some overpowered plants on the first tiles. If you manage to do that, please let me know in the comments below. Day 28 wasn't as bad as some of the previous levels, but I can't call it a good one. Thanks to the flying lizard from a final wave, I managed to save an additional lawnmower, meaning that dinosaurs are not always playing on the side of zombies. On day 29, we had to survive the zombie attack with the given plants, so I suggest skipping it as it didn't contain any fire plants. Everything was going fine at the beginning of day 30 up until the third wave, when I had to dig up my meteor flowers only to get some more suns. I was pretty close to failing the level, since the lack of sun felt pretty much here, especially at the end of the level where I had to deal with a massive number of zombies. Fortunately, I attracted the primal garg on the lane with a lawnmower, which allowed me to focus my attention on the zombies on the upper lanes. The level was successfully completed, and I consider it a huge victory, comrades. Day 31 didn't contain any fiery plants, but only primal and cold ones. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare anything interesting for it, since all my emotions were spent on some previous levels, so now you can enjoy a few more seconds of footage of this level, and then we will move to the final one. Day 32 didn't contain any fiery plants, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted for 5 minutes. I detect an incoming meteor, user Dave. I advise immediate egress from this time zone. Bye bye dinos, you will be birdies in no time. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the big wave beach, and another 32 levels are waiting for us, but this time with lots of peppers and challenging days. Here comes one of the best parts of our time adventure, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the big wave beach. A world full of dangerous Squidwards and annoying waves is waiting for us. It is the 10th world of our time adventure, and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will throw lots of fire peppers only to stop the underwater zombies from getting close to my brains. Without further ado, let's fire everything up. Look at this beautiful beach. It's got everything a growing plant needs. Sun, sand, and lots of water. Caution, user Dave. My sensors indicate there are zombies on your beach. And far too much water. It will overwhelm the plants. No problemo. We will just lay down some lily pads. No crazy Dave, we won't. It's not a fire plant. Beating the big wave beach without lily pads sounds good enough. Mr. Floppa approves it. Alright, so day 1 is always the best one, since you don't need to act much to complete it. However, in the case of the big wave beach, you should always put some effort into beating the level, as bucket heads with cone heads won't disappear without a good plant reply. In my case, I was even able to plant a few snapdragons, which hadn't been seen since Pirates or Wild West. The final wave was good enough as there was no zombie spam, but only the necessary hardness. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the big wave beach. On day 2, the water waves were coming closer with each of the zombies' attack, so the proper way to deal with them was to use the wasabi whip, as it's capable of dealing with all kinds of zombies, including the bucket heads. However, even wasabi whip isn't the best possible fire plant for the big wave beach, so we should search for a better one. Yet the level was successfully completed, and none of the zombies came close to my sandy beach. Day 3 is an amazing conveyor belt level, which is fully dedicated to chompers and pea shooters. Yeah, it didn't contain any fire plants, but I really enjoyed beating that level, since chomper is one of my favorite plants in PVZ 2. Bro is a real vacuum cleaner. On day 4, I discovered that meteor flower is incapable of hitting the water tiles, which makes it somewhat useless in this world. However, it's not a reason to abandon it, since no one except the fire flower can target zombies at any point on the lawn. Furthermore, the meteor shower after the second wave was a great answer to the question of its usability. This dude is very good. Day 5 was yet another conveyor belt level dedicated to Johnny and Pea Shooter together with Tangle Kelp. You know what? These guys are tough enough to stop a massive zombie spam and even take some bucket heads to the bottom of the ocean. Now we know who lives in the pineapple under the sea. It's a buckethead zombie. On day 6, I had only 2 available seed slots as most of the plants had been pre-picked for me. I didn't want to risk in such a case, so I decided to pick a fire flower just as usual, which turned out to be a huge catastrophe, since it's not capable of dealing with snorkel zombies while they are in the water. Houston, we've got some big troubles. As a result, they came into my lawn and consumed some of the meteor flowers, but luckily the remaining flowers were able to stop them and none of the lawn movers were lost in the process. However, I was really close to losing one of them. Day 7 was a tough one since we had no safe plants to put the plants, and the existing lily pads were everything we had. Nonetheless, even such restrictions couldn't stop me from reaching my goals. One of the things that has incredibly boosted my mood was the hot date, since the sweet guy can attract the snorkels and then fire them up. Don't you still believe that hot date is flamingly good? Because he really is. Day 8 was a bowling bulb level, so there's a good chance to tell you an interesting fact about bowling. Did you know that over 67 million people in the United States bowl every year? If we put it into perspective, every 5th US citizens play bowling at least once a year. The last time I played bowling was probably in 2018 or 2019, as the only place where you could play it in my city has closed. On day 9, I have finally placed the lots of pepper pools, which were frying snorkels like KFC chickens and the Wild West. Of course, even the hot peppers are unable to hold the zombie attacks on their own, so that's why the peppermint is essential for beating almost every level at that stage. In case of something goes wrong, I always have lava guava to fix it. 13 chocolate floppas out of 10. On day 10 my bowling bulbs were hitting the zombies like real professionals, so nothing and no one could stop them from shooting the bulbs. A famous space shooter also took part in this battle, but he was acting more like a support guy rather than the main attacker. Even though this level didn't contain any fire plants, I still enjoyed beating every second of it. Day 11 was the level where problems started appearing out of nowhere. I can't say that the level itself was challenging, but the appearance of the surfer zombie made things much worse than they could be, since the pepper pool isn't the best choice to defeat the surfboards. I wouldn't trust it to defeat such an enemy. Day 12 was the first less stand level of the Big Wave Beach and the first time I used Inferno in this world. Even though it doesn't attack snorkels, the Inferno is still capable of holding a massive horde at the back of the lawn, so no one would even try to bite my fire plants. Thanks to a good waterline, the snorkel zombies were unable to get a step closer to my lawnmowers, so it was one of the few levels where I saved all of them. Even though I had to gather 2000 suns on day 13, the level itself was amazing, as I had only one lane where I could place my fire plants together with sunshrooms. Unexpectedly, the hot date became my main savior from all kinds of zombies, including the snorkels. It allowed me to obtain some plant foods, which increased the number of lily pads, thereby giving me the perfect opportunity to expand the number of plants on the lawn. Day 14 was a good one, as it allowed me to play with my lovely chomper once again. This time I planted a complex defense line, which included a lane of bowling bulbs, together with a lane of chompers and Johnnies. The latter was getting all the damage from the zombie bites, so we should appreciate Johnny for doing such a hard work. Day 15 wasn't as hard as I expected it to be, since there was no fisherman zombie to catch my potato mines. What about the rest of the zombies? They weren't capable of reaching exploding bodies, since hot date attracted them with its sweet taste. Delicious. However, it all worked only until the first wave, when the situation got out of control, so I had to find another way to make it. Fortunately, the Inferno was so fast that we didn't get too stuck with the same problems we faced before, and the level was successfully completed. Wow, it looks like a bingo. We should take a look at it. Look, it must be time to play Beach Zombie Bango. Bingo, user Dave, it's bingo. You already won, Penny? Wow, you are good at this. On the other hand, where else would you see Chompy right next to a brain? Day 16 used to be one of the hardest conveyor-belt levels in the game, on which we all spent numerous hours trying to beat it without using power-ups. After all, I miss the good old day of day 16 of the Big Wave Beach, as it was a real challenge that only a few players could complete. You can still find numerous videos on YouTube where people attempt to finish it without any additional help. If you are one of the people who remember this level as it used to be, please let me know in the comments below so we can discuss it. What I found is that day 17 is usually much easier than day 1, and I can't explain this phenomenon. The only theory in my head suggests that I expect too much from day 17 and too little from day 1. However, I was terrified of Squidward, so I didn't let him enter my lawn and spread annoying squids on my plants. Not this time, buddy. Day 18 featured one of my favorite plants in PVZ 2, which is the crocodile. Even though a little crocodile isn't as tough as Bowling Bulb, he is still capable of holding the zombie horde and even defeating a deep sea gargantuar, which I found to be necessary to state that the plant is good enough to be used at that stage. 14 alligators out of 10 crocodiles. On day 19, I had only 3 available seed slots, on which I picked only the most necessary plants to beat the level, as each mistake would cost me an extra 650 coins to unlock an additional seed slot. The level itself was mediocre, as there was no significant threats to my fire flowers, which were capable of meteoring everyone around, and even the snorkels. That's what I call the power of a full lane of meteors. Day 20 was more of a survival game rather than a serious level, as I had to dig up all of my pepper pools because of the Octoman, who was obsessed with the idea of throwing Squidwards on my wedges. Don't try to do the same at home, I warned you. The rest of the level was fine, and I almost defeated a deep sea gargantuar at the end of it, but the luck was on its side. Finally, we've got to the point where Iceberg was a key player on the level. Day 21 was entirely dedicated to me, and I did my best to stop the surfboards from defeating the Homing Thistle, which is my friend I guess. Even though I was surrounded by broken surfboards, it didn't stop me from freezing all the zombies you see on the lawn and the one that is behind it. Day 22 introduced us to a fisherman zombie, one of the most formidable enemies we've faced on this challenge. While most zombies that people consider bad can easily be countered by Inferno or Meteor Flower, the same can be said about the fisherman, as he doesn't move, and he is too far away from the main spots on the lawn, on which 90% of the damage is inflicted. Therefore, we should better stay away from such a dangerous enemy and deal with him as fast as possible. I spent over half an hour trying to defend my bananas on day 23, as Fisherman Zombie was pulling them out from a safe zone, which is only one tile ahead of their plant point. The main problem at this level is the lack of sun, which limits me from placing fire plants directly in front of bananas. However, once I learned the locations of all the zombies, I finally managed to protect the bananas and complete the level. Day 24 was yet another bowling level, so that's a good chance to tell you something interesting about this game. Did you know that Japan is home to the world's largest bowling alley with 116 lanes? Honestly, I can't imagine a building where it was constructed, as so many lanes require a gigantic space, alone with mechanics and thousands of balls. On day 25, I fried numerous zombies in so many different ways, but my favorite method included hot date, which attracted all the zombies from nearby lanes and then jalapenoed them. However, the Meteor Flower also deserves your attention, as it is an effective way to get rid of zombies at any place you want. Just make sure to feed those guys with a plant food or boost them with a peppermint. Day 26 was a conveyor belt level dedicated to Johnnies and bananas, so there's a good chance to tell you something interesting about the latter one. Did you know that the scientific name of the banana means the fruit of the wise man? Its scientific name in Latin is Musa sapientum, which translates to a phrase you heard previously. So if you want to become wise, you should start eating more bananas, as they are a great source of carbohydrates and fiber. I've got nothing to say about day 27, as it resembles some of the previous levels and features the same problems we faced before. If I could find something interesting about it, I would surely tell you. Day 28 used to be a pure nightmare fuel for old players of PVZ2, as there was only one proper way to beat it without using power-ups or any additional plant foods, and that solution was the Infinite. However, in 2025, this level is as easy as baking a potato, so nothing special can be said about it. While the Big Wave Beach is now much easier than Jurassic Marsh, and that's not an exaggeration. Day 29 was fine, since I combined a Meteor Flower with Pepper Pult, which countered all the enemies we faced on this level. Fortunately, we had enough sun to prepare a good defense line, so the number of plants placed on the lawn was high enough to deal with all the zombies, including a deep sea gargantuar which couldn't stand the massive artillery shell. Oh no, we've got to this point. Day 30. Well, that's a pure nightmare fuel for me, as I spent over an hour searching for a way to complete it. As you may have noticed, we had to defend the crocodiles. It may sound easy when you first hear it, but remember that Fisherman needs only one shot to trigger it, and thus ruin the level. I got to the point where I learned each and every zombie that appears on the level and the amount of plant foods I get while beating it, as they are essential to deal with Fisherman, as these zombies requires 2 peppermints to be immediately defeated. I still can't believe that I did it, as it was the hardest level I faced in this challenge. If you want to understand how challenging it is, try it on your own and remember all the combinations that make it possible to be beaten with only fire plants. I was really proud of myself after finishing it, as I didn't give up after numerous failures. Good job, Michael. Day 31 was a good level of the Big Wave Beach, which felt like a relaxation after a crazy day 30, which took all the power I had, so the current level was seen by me as an opportunity to enjoy playing PVZ 2 once again and think about the beauty of Big Wave Beach, as I find this world a true masterpiece. There is nothing better in this life than expressing your feelings after playing PVZ 2 levels and describing them as something fundamental, like writing a poem or novel. Day 32 is my favorite battle with Dr. Zombies, as it included all my favorite plants and it lasted for only 5 minutes, which is way more than enough for a battle with zombies. Well, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the modern day. Another 34 levels are waiting for us, but this time with time portals and a delicious taco in a waffle. The time has finally come for a final battle between zombies and fire, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the modern day. A world full of temporary zombies and mysterious shadow plants is waiting for us. It is the 11th and the final world of our time adventure and the very last hope to find Dave's taco. Today we're going to fry the modern zombies like a barbecue in the backyard, using all the fire plants to stop the massive attack from 2010. Without further ado, let's get our taco back. Project Paradox begins now. Timeline alert, user Dave. We have arrived moments before our departure. If my guess is correct, Dr. Zombies will attempt to prevent your initial taco consumption. Our journey will cease to exist. No. Oh, sorry, I was busy screaming no. Did you say taco? We must beware, user Dave. Dr. Zombies will surely deploy all his time-varied zombies. Taco! As you may see, Crazy Dave needs only one scene, and he doesn't care about anything else. However, let's get back to our time adventure. Day 1 is always my favorite one, as it is an excellent opportunity to understand what is going on in this universe and what type of challenge we will face today. This time the first level of a new world was severe, as it's hard to imagine it without the peppermint, which played a key role in beating the level, as pepper pools were not able to stop Popka the parrot, and the rest of the zombies as well, let alone those who came from the portals. Even though the final wave was crazy because of the mecha football zombie and the rest of the bodies who came from the future, we managed to burn them all and complete the level with only a single remaining lone mover. Sounds like a huge success. If you thought that day 1 was crazy, take a look at day 2, which already includes a gargantuar. Well, it's a typical situation for this world, so don't be surprised by it. This time I didn't want to finish the level with only a single lone mover, so I picked a meteor flower as my main plant against the zombie horde. Guess what? It was a brilliant choice. The meteor shower, combined with a lane of lava, is one of the most efficient ways to defeat the zombies, especially when you add a peppermint to this combo. The ancient Garg was genuinely shocked by its effectiveness. Day 3 was a conveyor belt level, which included my lovely Snapdragon. However, it's unbeatable with only that plant, as Newspaper Zombie is a big fan of speedrunning the levels. That's why I had to use some other plants like Endurian and Lightning Reed to stop it. I'm not a big fan of this level, as it seems to be pretty much boring to me, so we are moving to the next one. On day 4, I repeated the strategy from day 2, as it seems to be a working solution for an early stage of the modern day. Some of you might know that this level contains an Imp Dragon, which is immune to any fire plant and its fire attack. So, is that the end of our challenge? Of course it's not. I was thinking about its appearance a long time before we entered this stage, so I have already prepared a few strategies for defeating an Imp Dragon, and the first one included a hot date. The idea was simple. I would attract all the imps to one lane and then the lone movers would finish them off. Then the same steps will be repeated with the other lanes and boom, the level is completed. You know what? Everything was going just like I predicted, and at the end of the level I made another 200 IQ moments by attracting the zombies to the lane where imps would activate the lone mover in a few seconds. I was surely cooking this level. Day 5 included lots of annoying zombies, from fast-moving imps to newspaper zombies, which are currently the main threats to my lawnmowers, as they move so fast that not even the meteor flower can catch them with its artillery shot. The rest of the level was fine, but I still can't get the point of including Gargs in every single level of the modern day. Even though I can easily counter it with the fire plants, I still respect such a serious enemy. On day 6, we had to grind 4000 suns, which gave me a fantastic opportunity to play the level in the way it's meant to be beaten. Without the sun deficit, I was able to plant everything I wanted to, and of course my choice fell on placing a column of infernos combined with meteor flowers. These fire plants were incredibly effective and the level was beaten much faster than I expected. As a result, I had to dig up lots of plants to grind the needed amount of sun, allowing the zombies to consume lots of sun shrooms together with hot dates. Day 7 was just a ridiculous zombie spam and nothing more than that, since 90% of the level was dedicated to some of the most annoying zombies, which appeared simultaneously. What were the PopCap developers thinking about while creating such a dumb level? Because it's even worse than the Jurassic Marsh, which has some of the worst levels in the game. It's not a big problem to beat such a level, but I didn't enjoy a single second of it, since the real hardness lies in a good zombie combinations rather than spamming the worst enemies on one level. Mr. Floppa wouldn't approve such a level. Day 8 was a 3-in-a-row minigame, so there's a good chance to tell you something interesting. Did you know that an elephant's trunk has over 150,000 muscles on it? To put it into perspective, our body has approximately 840 muscles. When a baby elephant is born, it's pretty clumsy, and it doesn't know how to use its trunk. It takes around 8 months for a newborn to learn how to use its trunk properly. Thank you so much for your attention. On day 9, we had to survive the zombie attack with only shadow plants, which means that the fire plants are not the same on that level. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of number 9, so skipping it would be the right choice. Day 10 contained even more fast-moving zombies, which wasn't fun at all, since I had to deal not only with some easy enemies like Discotrons, but also with the prehistoric zombie, which is a big fan of cobblestones and Ooga Booga. Guys, I don't have enough suns to deal with all of you, especially if it comes to the Primal Garg, which is by far the toughest gargantuar in the game, and all I have to stop him is a few fire plants. Nevertheless, we managed to survive to the final wave and defeat the Robo-Garg with the help of the lawnmower. So, because of the Perspector zombie, day 11 was beaten with the help of the Wasabi Whip, which is capable of slashing the zombies from both sides, so none of them can easily get to my spicy friend. The addition of Piano Man to this level is still a huge mystery, as there are no zombies from the Wild West who would dance while listening to his melody. Not even a Tintin Man is a fan of his music, which tells us a lot about his musical abilities. I've started thinking that Piano Man is a local Squidward, as no one likes his melodies. Day 12 was much easier than expected, as Inferno is yet another great option to deal with Imp Dragons, which are now stuck at the beginning of the lawn. Moreover, it allowed me to group even more zombies, so the spicy flame of the hot date has fried even more zombies at once. Oh, and I don't really know what the hell has happened with my Jack-o'-lantern, which at first defeated the Garg and then it simply disappeared. Our pumpkin friend reminded me of a man on a mission who did his task and then went away. Impressive for such a fabulous pumpkin. Day 13 featured a 3-in-a-row minigame, which is by far one of my favorites in PVZ 2. Even though this level has no connection to our challenge, it feels special to me because the essence of my challenge lies in levels like this one. I'm honestly shocked that it has been almost 3 months since I started this challenge, and now we are finishing it. Moments like this one feels pretty special, as I understand that all the efforts I put into it are going to become a long movie in a few days. It's a great feeling. I like it because people enjoy what I do and appreciate every moment of this challenge. That makes me feel really happy. On day 14 we had to survive the zombie attack with only shadow plants, so I suggest skipping it, as it told you lots of interesting stuff right before it. On day 15 I had to protect a few primal cobblestones from being eaten by zombies. To my surprise, the enemy list on this level was pretty poor, and the imp cannon from the piracies has impressed me, as I couldn't expect to see it at this point. There was literally only one tough zombie at this level, and it was the classical Garg, which appeared on the middle lane that didn't have any cobblestones. Sometimes I can't really understand the logic of PopCap developers who made some of the first levels much tougher than all we witness right now. Nevertheless, let's continue to enjoy this game. So, after defeating the final zombie, we received a taco. It can't be serious. I'm sure it's a trap. Look, Penny, my taco! No, user Dave, you must not. I detect high levels of trappiness. But hungry. Chow, taco! Like I said, it was a trap. Day 16 was a pretty interesting conveyor belt level, featuring only gargantuars and plants that aim to defeat them. On the one hand, it's a cool and unique challenge, since there are no similar levels to this one. Still, on the other hand, it destroys the reputation of Gargantuar as a dangerous enemy, for which you have to prepare only the best defense, since the giant zombie is seen as a killing machine. You have probably understood that I'm not a big fan of the modern day, as I find it a bad ending of the game. In my opinion, the concept of the final world should be different, and the zombie list should be way larger than it currently is. The only strong side of the modern day is the shadow plants, a cool concept that represents a new plant family with interesting abilities. However, the rest of the world isn't so great, and I wouldn't recommend replaying it over and over. With that being said, let's move to the second part of the modern day. Day 17 didn't feature anything new, but at least the zombie combinations were much better than they used to be in the first part. If you think something is going wrong on your own, just place the peppermint and all of your problems will be solved in 5 seconds. However, don't do that so often, as the game would become too dull and repetitive. Oh yeah, that's my favorite moment of the entire level. I remember day 18 for introducing a bull zombie in the modern day, which is in fact a dangerous enemy considering its fast pace and agile nature. It's hard to believe that a zombie from the Wild West can become a serious enemy in this world, but it is what it is. Despite losing a few lone movers, the level was completed and my brain became relaxed. Day 19 was a strange conveyor belt level, as it combined plans from prehistory with the plans from the far future. Sounds reasonable. Oh, and we even received a coconut cannon from the piracies, which honestly made the timeline even stranger. Nevertheless, it's an optional level, so I don't care about its existence. Day 20 was a perfect opportunity to play with a wasabi whip, and of course, I couldn't miss such a chance. The sun tiles, which are placed at the beginning of the lawn, became my primary sun source, all of which I spent on putting even more wasabi whips. So technically, wasabi whips were producing suns to place even more wasabi whips. Oh, what an effective zero-waste production! Everything was going so fast that 99% of the zombies were defeated in the first 2 minutes, and the third minute was spent on dealing with the primal Garg. Big boy needs lots of fire to be defeated. Day 21 has finally featured the All-Star Zombie, which is one of the most dangerous enemies we have ever faced in this challenge. Unlike other zombies, it is capable of destroying Inferno while the plant is reloading, so we should be really cautious when the football zombie enters the lawn. Sometimes there are so many different enemies on the lawn that not even Inferno is capable of stopping them all, so the rest of the fire plants are becoming more useful than they ever were. Day 22 featured a 3-in-a-row minigame, so I had a few minutes to relax and think about the experience I gained while beating the modern day and the rest of the worlds. The fire challenge taught me to always keep an eye on everything that is happening on the lawn and sometimes play as fast as possible to trigger the next wave, so even if you are not capable of dealing with all the zombies, the lone movers will do the rest of the work for you. Also, I learned a valuable lesson about dealing with all kinds of zombies and even developed some new strategies for dealing with old enemies. Overall, I think that this challenge was valuable not only for me, but for all of you, my fellow ice cubes. Day 23 became a total mess as lots of annoying zombies appeared on that level and I couldn't do anything against them, since most of the time my meteor flowers were covered with an awful octopus. The only thing I could do in this situation was of course to use the peppermints to deal with all the zombies that were obsessed with the idea of getting my brain at any cost. Unfortunately for them, the level was completed and my brain was saved once again. Day 24 contained a 200 IQ moment at the end of the level, when I managed to defeat the all-star zombie that was 2 steps away from getting to the house and consuming my brain. Still, a jalapeno pepper became my victory ticket, which saved the loan from a total collapse. Put a like on this video for such a great move. Day 25 was an interesting conveyor belt level which contained only carrots. It's interesting to find out that such an idea was used too late and we've got only one level of that type, which is pretty sad, because this plant has appeared in the Neon Mixtape tour, and since then we haven't seen any good level up until now. The intensive carrot could become a great plant if only the PopCap developers made it a bit better than we've got in a game. Day 26 wasn't an interesting one, as I don't find zombie spam a necessary thing to talk about. I can always tell you a fascinating story of how I saved enough stones to plant a full column of infernos and then countered all the enemies you see on the screen with his help. But let's be honest, no one is interested in that type of scene, and neither am I. Day 27 once again featured 3 in a row mini-games, so that's a great chance to tell you something interesting. Did you know that Modern Day was released almost 10 years ago? In February 2026, this world will celebrate its 10th anniversary, and I still can't believe that we haven't seen a new world since then. When Modern Day was released, I was 12, and now I'm 22. Life is going at an insanely fast pace. On day 28, we had to gather 3000 suns, so I found nothing better than beating this level using firey together with torchwood, as the last time I used them was on a big wave beach. My first attempt failed because I was playing too fast. On my second attempt, I needed a few more seconds to gather an additional 25 suns, but the game didn't want to cooperate with me. On the third attempt, I finally succeeded with only torchwoods, leaving no lone movers in the yard. Day 29 was an easy one, and even the imp dragons couldn't stop me from enjoying it. Even though I had no plans in the lone, I was still succeeding in frying the zombies, as most of them ended up being fried like a KFC chicken. The final wave introduced a few gargs from ancient Egypt, but even they couldn't change the situation you see on your screens. Neither of them could resist the superior power of the fire plants. Day 30 remains a nightmare for me, as I spent over an hour trying to beat that level repeatedly without success. To understand how hard it is, you should never forget that I struggled to complete it, even with a few columns of sunshrooms. After numerous attempts and failures, I finally reached the final wave, and only then did I realize that the level is unbeatable with only fire plants, as I've got nothing to counter 3 gargantuars simultaneously. This is the first and the only impossible level of the Modern Day, and if you managed to beat it on your own, please let me know in the comments below the way you did it, because I have tried literally everything to complete it. Day 31 was one of the easiest levels of the Modern Day, and I'm not even joking. I still can't find the logic in making such an easy level at the end of the journey, especially since we're just one step away from finishing the adventure mode, and you're giving me this. That's not serious at all. Anyway, that's not my problem, so let's move to the final levels of our time adventure. Days 32, 33 and 34 were spent fighting with Dr. Zombies. I'm not a big fan of these levels, as I find them a bad ending for the adventure mode. Fortunately or not, they didn't contain enough fire plants to attempt beating zombies with only them, so we are going to skip all of these levels. However, after beating day 34, we finally got a taco with a waffle in it. It's even better than one we consumed some time ago. David, I implore you, you must give up your hopeless dream of a long ago taco. It is gone forever. But please, in its place, take this. Oh, is that A taco with a waffle in it? I detect high level of deliciousness, user Dave. This is the greatest day in my or anybody else's life. Bon appetit, Crazy Dave. So there are no more levels to play or keys to achieve, which means that PVZ2 was successfully beaten with only 5 plants. I hope you enjoyed it, because I really did. It was an amazing experience and I hope you will try it on your own, because fire plants are a fantastic plant group in PVZ2. There are so many of them that you can create numerous strategies for beating various worlds in our time adventure. However, it's not the final challenge on my channel, as many of you have requested to continue this series, so the next time adventure will be dedicated to another plant group. As we approach the holidays, you can suggest what type of challenge will be next. It is going to be the fourth and the final challenge of 2025, and I still hope to reach 25,000 subscribers by December 31st, 2025. Also, don't forget about sponsorships, as they are a fantastic way to support me. Now I'm working on some of the following videos, so wait for them all. Sincerely, your Iceberg Clutches.